I was just calling, ooh. I told you I made that joke, like a joke like that to Matt once, just froze him up. Yeah. You and Josh, I think, are the only ones who would not lose your minds at the sound of something like that. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive, presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran at Laffy_D on the Twitters, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down an interesting slate. This has some traces of like April basketball vibes.
Yeah, this is wild.
How you feeling? Groceries just got delivered?
Yeah, groceries just got delivered, just made more coffee. I'm good, but yeah, the slate's tough, and we're still waiting on a lot of news that I was hoping was going to be cleared up between the strategy show and now, but hasn't been.
What are the biggest spots right now before we dive into this that we're waiting on?
Who the hell is playing for the Nets and the Mavericks? More so for the Nets. Like, we have the Ben Simmons Q tag, which is actually a big deal. But then we also starting lineups could be a variety of things. That's the case for the Mavs as well. Isaiah Stewart is still questionable for the Pistons. Was hoping we'd have an answer there. Now we have Jaylen Brown questionable for Boston on the other side of that game. Beal, I know, went through shoot around, but he is still listed as questionable. There's a lot of moving parts.
Well, as always, happy to have you guys with us today. Almost north of 100 likes out of the gate. You guys know. We talked about it. You come in, it's like you tap it as you're leaving the locker room, one of those stupid quotes. Hit that thumbs up. Takes a single second. Help support us here. Atone for your sins. Bow down before the YouTube gods. And you know how it goes. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. If you hate this show, hit the thumbs down, but make sure to do it twice. Make sure to let us know you really hate it. Tap that thing twice with aggression. But we got 8 games to talk about. How avoidable right now? Like, is building a stars and scrubs lineup essentially unavoidable at this point? And let me just preface it with this. Usually when you've got these 12K players like Giannis, as good of a spot as they're in, 8-game slate, you don't usually see them at 30% unless there's some really cheap value out there.
Yeah, so there's only one true star on the slate with Giannis. Right. So it's one of those more, I mean, obviously you're going to get to Giannis a lot. It's easy to do, but yeah, you kind of can just do whatever you want on this slate, most likely. Again, that could change a little bit if Ben Simmons plays and we don't get as much value with the Nets. Maybe we don't get Jaden Hardy in the starting lineup, and that becomes a riskier spot for Dallas. But there's just enough value today where you're not going to have any issue getting to whatever plays you want to get to. The bigger conversation is around the opportunity cost, partly at center, like we always talk about, but really at the guard spots today. It makes it really difficult. I think, there's guards that you definitely want to pay up for, Damian Lillard and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in particular, but there's value guards, there's mid-range guards, and then there's those top tier guards. So in that regard, it becomes interesting to talk about.
Well, let's dive into it. We got 8 games, and then, of course, you got Live Before Lock coming up right after this, so do not go anywhere. They're taking you all the way up to lock and through it. Little No House Advantage post-game, talking, betting, No House Advantage, looking at ownership, everything with Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist from 6 to 7:30. So stick around after that. And, of course, you want to check out that Hall of Fame segment, whether you got inducted, whether you want to see everybody else coming up with the big wins this week. You can do that on top of it in the intermission. Well, why don't we play the last one and then just tomorrow? Is that a problem? Okay, that's all. That's all, dude.
It looks like Jordan has a problem.
We went to record. Yeah, it does look like he has a problem. We went to record the new one today, and there's like a PowerPoint that we have all the slides in, and somebody just randomly deleted it. So made it, it's hard to do one where you don't have any of the slides and any of the screenshots.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, the Hall of Fame segment we do in the intermission, okay? It's like, remember I used to do it in the middle of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we just moved that to like a pre-recorded thing in the intermission so we could dedicate the whole in-between deeper dive Live Before Lock to it.
Okay, got it.
And there's slides of all the wins. They all got deleted. So we had to set it all back up. Whatever. You don't need to know our business here. Let's talk about basketball. Cleveland Cavaliers on the road. Washington Wizards. Now, Wizards without Kyle Kuzma. Beal's questionable. He did participate in shoot around. With Cleveland, the only real big thing here, you're waiting on Karis LeVert. He's questionable, missed last game. We'll see how that plays out. But when it comes to guys like Garland and Jared Allen, who was a colossal disappointment a couple days ago, Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, really the big four on this team, and then you just drop off a cliff. Are these guys all viable today in a pretty good spot against Washington?
Yeah, and they all just kind of look the same, respective to salary and position as well. There's not one of them that stands out as like the clear priority. They're all right now projected for between 10 and 16% ownership. They all have between a 9 and 14% chance of being optimal, talking about Garland, Mobley, Mitchell, and Allen. So it's kind of just like whatever of those guys you get to, great. None of them are top priorities on the slate because they're not on the Mavericks or the Nets. They're not named Giannis. They're not named Damian Lillard, but they're all just useful pieces to get to. You have every position except for small forward between those four guys. The Karis LeVert news does matter at least a little bit. If he's in, it really does just fall off after those four. If he's out, you're likely to get enough minutes from Isaac Okoro and Cedi Osman, where if you're playing 150 lineups, large field lottery type tournaments, you can mix in those guys and just, kind of hope to get lucky. They still aren't guys that I'd really be excited about in small field or anything like that, because they have gotten a little bit more expensive. You're not talking about great point per minute production, but if LeVert is out, you are likely to get around 30 minutes from Okoro. You're likely to get, low 20s from Cedi. Whereas if LeVert's in, the minutes on both of those guys come down.
On
no
the
Ricky Rubio today either, so more minutes available.
On the Washington side, you've got no Kyle Kuzma, and then of course Rui is since departed as well. He's alive, but he's not on Washington anymore. So I'm just taking them off the floor. Do you look at Beal, who without Kuzma this year, he's only played I think 204 minutes without him. He does have a 33% usage rate. Porzingis is at 31%. All of this in saying that none of these guys are getting any ownership whatsoever today at all. But from a per minute perspective, like Porzingis without Kuzma this year in 250 minutes, 1.36, Beal's 1.25. Are those just kind of no man's land price points? Is that why no one's getting to them?
Kind of, yeah. And you also
the matchup, of course.
Yeah, the matchup's a big piece. And then with Beal, you also have the playing time issue. He had just been playing like 30 to 32 minutes. Washington hadn't been running him into the ground. Then he got hurt again, missed another game. If he plays today, I assume he's playing like 30 to 32 minutes, which at 7,300 is still fine. Like you said, the usage should be there. He's played 192 minutes with Porzingis on the floor without Kuzma. Still has a 32.2% usage rate, 1.23 DraftKings points per minute. I think he's going a little bit under-owned in the sense that his optimal percentage is a little bit higher. We have him projected for 2% ownership, 7.5% chance of being optimal. Part of the reason the ownership's so low is the Q tag as well. But even if you call it like 4 or 5% ownership, sure, he's going under owned, but he's still a low probability play because of the matchup, because of the likelihood that he's not going to go play 36 minutes. Porzingis, also a very good point per minute guy without Kuzma, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute in those 192 minutes alongside Beal. But the problem there is that he's also up to $9,600. Yeah. So, you're probably getting 33, 34 minutes from him, and he's likely to be a very productive player. You just have plenty of other spots that you can get to as well. So again, in tournaments, I think they both look good. I think they're both going a little bit under owned, but neither one is somebody that I could really recommend building around in the sense of, these are my highest owned guys.
Right. Which is odd. I mean, obviously the matchup, slow pace, it's Cleveland team, good defense, but usually, I mean, this, when you have a team with, let's call them a big three, and you take one of those off the floor, usually those other two are going to be pretty popular.
Yeah. Well, another reason for it today too, goes back to what I was saying at the start of the show. When you think about value on today's slate, like at least with the way things are projected right now, you have Jaden Hardy as a shooting guard. You have Jordan Poole as probably the best overall play on the slate at guard. You have Lillard, you have SGA, you have Drew Holiday, whose price tag is somehow coming down. There's a lot of good guard plays. So the opportunity cost is even higher at that position than it normally is. And that's another, kind of knock against Beal.
Do you have any interest in Denny Avdia?
Sort of. If Beal plays, I assume you're getting around 32 to 34 minutes from Avdia off the bench. If Beal is out, I'm interested to see who starts. My guess is that you would have Avdia move back into the starting lineup, in which case you could certainly get one of those games like we were getting earlier in the year where Avdia is just going out there and playing 40 minutes. And at his price tag, he would be too cheap. But if he's still coming off the bench, if Beal's in, he's still coming off the bench. He's pulling 5% ownership. It's just another one of those like last guy in type plays. Same can be said for Daniel Gafford. There's a million centers in this price range today that have high ceilings. He's one of them. There's a few that I like a little bit more, but nothing wrong with getting there here and there, but wouldn't stand out. If Beal is out, Avdia certainly looks better. Kendrick Nunn also is 3,200 right now, probably playing around 18 to 20 minutes if Beal is in. But if Beal is out, you could certainly get more playing time from Nunn as well.
You have anything else from this game?
Corey Kispert's cheap. He'll run around the floor for a bunch of minutes.
All right, let's talk about Boston and Detroit. Boston laying 10.5 on the road here. Marcus Smart remains sidelined. Luke Cornett out. Let's actually start with this. Then we can get to Jaylen Brown, who was pop-up questionable throughout the day. Do you think Cornett's absence, just given the reserve minutes he play off the bench, is going to make any impact in front court minutes today? Enough that's actionable?
I don't think so.
Okay. You wouldn't think so, right? What's he? Yeah, it doesn't seem likely. Robert Williams getting 10%. And then Jaylen Brown's potential absence looms pretty large in a spot like this, especially against Detroit. I mean, you say that Giannis is the only real top tier option, which I agree, like in that 12K range. But if Jaylen Brown ends up sitting, and I think it's an illness, right? Which could, I think it's an illness. Let me check.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's an illness. I mean, if you take him off the floor, you're taking Marcus Smart already off the floor, and then you've got a matchup against the Detroit Pistons. Jason Tatum's price seems mildly prohibitive if Jaylen Brown plays, but it starts to look really good if both of those guys are out today, no?
Yeah, if Brown's in, I'm not really interested in Tatum outside of, if you're playing 150 lineups, he'll fall into some just because that ceiling is certainly there. But, at 11K, I'm not all that interested. He's pulling 8% ownership, which is fine. But without Jaylen Brown on the floor this year, 1.4 DraftKings points per minute, 35% usage rate, 22% assist percentage. Tatum starts to look really good. Obviously Giannis is still going to project better, but he's also more expensive. I would certainly be a lot more interested in Jason Tatum if Jaylen Brown is out. Similarly, you're going to get Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon looking better if Jaylen Brown is out as well.
As it stands right now, assuming Brown is in, what do you want to do with the Celtics?
Not a ton, kind of just mentioned Tatum. Jaylen Brown himself, if he's in, looks fine. Shooting guard, small forward, 8,700, 7% ownership, no real issue there. Robert Williams is leading the way at 10% ownership on DraftKings. I think that's about correct. You just have a lot of interchangeable centers in this $5,500 range, give or take, $100 or $200 in either direction. Williams did play 30 minutes last game. If this game's competitive, he's likely to be out there for 28 to 30 again. He's a good point per minute guy. But again, you just have so many guys here that, I don't think you can get much higher than 10% to Robert Williams in terms of ownership or, optimal lineup percentage, just because he looks so similar to whether it's Daniel Gafford, Walker Kessler, Jakob Poeltl, Jalen Duren. There's just so many guys on this slate in that price range.
All right, then let's talk about Detroit. Clearly not an ideal matchup. Jalen Duren coming in around 9.5% on DraftKings. Everybody else largely unowned here. There is one thing though. Isaiah Stewart's questionable. So if he ends up now, I know he had been questioned. I think last game he was questionable, played 37 minutes, but left hip soreness. If he's in, is there anything that appeals to you in this spot?
The front court still does. I like the lack of ownership that you're getting there because you're not expecting 37 minutes or 36 minutes like we got from Stewart last time out. That was a game where Jalen Duren was in foul trouble in the second quarter. But we've seen the Pistons starting Stewart alongside Duren now, and that's good for both of them because you're getting Isaiah Stewart as the backup center, but it's not he's playing minutes alongside Duren still. When you were getting Stewart off the bench as the backup center, it made it so you basically couldn't get more than like 25 or 26 minutes from Duren because Stewart was going to play 22 or 23 typically. Now you can get 28 minutes from Stewart while Duren also plays 30 to 32. It makes them both look pretty good at their respective salaries. You have power forward eligibility on Stewart, which is nice. Duran projects to play a couple of more minutes. So it makes me like both of them. If Stewart's out, Duran still looks good. You would get Sadiq Bey in the starting lineup most likely. At 5,800, I'm still not really going to like him all that much, but he would certainly look a little bit better. But beyond the front court, Jaden Ivey, Bojan Bogdanovic certainly give you high ceilings. Difficult matchup, though. Price tags have gotten up there where you're at 6,500 for Bojan, 6K for Ivey. Not, high priority plays. Same can be said for Alec Burks at 4,900. If he plays 30 minutes, he looks good. But, we got 26 2 games ago in a competitive game. We got 25 last game. It's just, tough to think he's playing more than that regularly.
All right, let's keep it moving then. And Plan B Smoothies. Excuse me. Heck of a name.
Did you say
said I use this show to get my player props in? Yeah. Hey, first of all, that works, but we've got the NBA Bet Pro tool, which is free for the first week, dude. You should definitely, if you're betting NBA player props, check it. Adam has a show on it 5 days a week on our Odds Shopper YouTube channel. Odds Shopper, one word. I'm assuming that's been up for a while, right? That's been up for a while, right? Your Bet Pro or your Bet Pro?
Yeah, that went up like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and it does every day. You should check it out, dude. It's a sick tool. It's been crushing too. Adam gives his top plays from it. The tool's super easy to use. Links in the description. Jordan, throw it in the chat too. If you are betting player props as well, dude, first week is entirely free. And the hope obviously is that you win enough to just continue covering the cost of it going forward. But first week, totally free. If you hate it, you can bounce. NBA Bet Pro, yeah, totally. It's awesome, dude. It's awesome. The projections that we have that created by all, developed by the guys here behind all of the DFS stuff as well. So yeah, if you're using this for player prop betting, use that tool too. Use the Odds Shopper channel on top of it. Might even save you a ton of time as well. All right, let's talk about the Clippers. Looking at our on Stokastic, looking at the boom bust tool, and you've got them going up against a depleted Nets team that just. Well, I saw that trade isn't official. Did you see that like an hour ago?
Yeah, they're trying to work a third team into it.
Okay, so
the Nets want to send Dinwiddie to Toronto.
Okay, but either way, Kyrie Irving's not playing, right? Like it's done.
Yeah, nobody from that trade's playing.
That's what I mean. Yeah, on Dallas side either. Yeah, Seth Curry's out. Ben Simmons is questionable. But with the Clippers side, yeah, they're 8-point favorites in a pretty relatively low total game. We don't have a single guy pulling more than 8% optimal lineup or optimal percentage or an optimal score in our boom bust tool today. Kawhi Leonard's still pretty separated in terms of price from Paul George. It's hard to look at there being any real priority here, even though the matchup is going to be pretty good against the Nets skeleton crew.
Yeah, it's really surprising because not only are you getting a good matchup here against Brooklyn, we've also seen a really condensed rotation from the Clippers over their last couple of games, but it still just isn't translating into any DFS priorities. Paul George, 8,900. He's very similar to Jaylen Brown if Brown plays, where you're certainly happy to get there. You're expecting really big minutes from George. It's still a reasonable price tag, but there's just so many other plays today that are going to take priority over him. Ivica Zubac at 5,200, coming off of a game where he played 38 minutes in regulation, certainly could see mid to upper 30s again. Doesn't have to, though. That's kind of the interesting thing about the rotation is even if they do play 8 or 8.5 guys, you're still going to get some volatility there where, you got 38 minutes from Zubac's last game. Terrence Mann only played 30. Reggie Jackson only played 15. They have so many guys that play different positions that you could get Zubac playing 30 and Reggie Jackson playing 22. And, even though they play different positions, it's just, how you sort of allocate the wing minutes. So within those 8 guys, there's still plenty of volatility, which makes them kind of interesting in tournaments just because you get that upside from Zubac. You get that upside from Jackson at 3,800. Obviously risky as well because if he plays 15 minutes, he's not going to do any good for you. But at 4 or 5% ownership, Zubac, I think, looks fine, but there's just a lot of other centers in that range as well. So you can't really say that he's like the guy. He's just another one of many. Paul George, same kind of thing. He'd be my favorite guy to get to here because you are getting an $800 discount off of Kawhi Leonard. You're getting huge minutes from both of them now. But you're just, George is a little bit cheaper. But it's just, there's not one guy that's really going to stand out. Marcus Morris has played big minutes in his couple games back from injury as well.
So we had a super chat. It's a good question. Actually, you and I the other day covered this at length on this very show. We really broke this down as deep as possible. So maybe you can give a a quick explanation. Julio with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Julio. Said, Adam, how do you construct your lineups at lock when there are legitimate Q tags in the late games? Last time Jokic was questionable, but then couldn't get much of Jamal Murray in my late swap because of exposure. So essentially just how do you go about that? I know it's not the same thing every slate, obviously, but in general, do you have a process?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be some exceptions. Typically, though, if it's like a true Q tag, I project them in and then just late swap as soon as I can. The other day, like I made an example with Golden State and then got burned, but I went ahead and guessed that Curry and Draymond were going to sit. So I had like a bunch of Kuminga and stuff and had to swap off of that. But I'll usually try and pay attention just to kind of think through, like, is there one clear way where the late swapping is going to be easier? Like, am I like in the Jokic example? It's going to be a lot easier to swap down from Jokic typically than it is to swap up to him if you like project him out and then he's in. But normally, if it's just like a Q tag where he's legitimately questionable and I don't know, I project him in and then just am ready to late swap as soon as I can.
See if we can. Okay, Isaiah Stewart's playing. Bradley Beal, game time decision. Okay. If any other news breaks, we'll let you know about it. All right. You ready to talk about Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Okay. But are you?
Yeah, I was just reading chat.
You're good. Brooklyn Nets. Dude, the guard positions for the Nets and the Mavs are wild right now. But let's start it off for the Nets. They're huge dogs without Kyrie Irving, without Seth Curry. Still waiting on the Ben Simmons news. Nobody would be shocked if this guy with, the knee soreness doesn't end up playing. We got Edmund Sumner right now pulling 27%. Cameron Thomas, who we got some use out of him last season, late in the year, he's almost 20%. And then the rest of the team is essentially unowned outside of a 4% Nick Claxton.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot. Ben Simmons' status is going to be big because we're missing Seth Curry, who left last game early. You had Patty Mills play every single minute after Seth Curry left the game. Patty Mills was also the first guy off the bench, along with Daron Sharp as the backup center. So what I think is really interesting here, if Simmons is in, the minutes just become riskier for everybody. Cameron Thomas came off the bench last game, ended up playing 29 minutes. In the first half, he'd only played 11. He just caught fire in the second half and stayed out there. That certainly doesn't have to happen again. But like right now, we have Cam Thomas projected. We have Ben Simmons projected in, but we have Cam Thomas still at 30 minutes. We have Patty Mills at 11. I think that's too aggressive on Thomas and not enough minutes for Patty Mills. If Simmons is out, I think both guys end up looking better just because you're losing Ben Simmons. But it's really interesting to me that like we have 19% ownership coming into a 5K Cam Thomas and none coming into a $3,600 Patty Mills when Patty Mills just played ahead of Cam Thomas. So I don't totally understand that one. I think they're both high risk, high reward plays in tournaments. Sumner, assuming he starts, is going to be the quote unquote safest play here just because he's getting minutes right out of the gate. He's 4,500. He has been pretty productive when given opportunities this year as well. So that makes you feel a little bit better. Claxton, we know, is a very, very high ceiling at center. He's about a 1.3, 1.35 fantasy point per minute guy without Durant and Irving this year. He's likely to give you mid-30s in minutes. The problem is just that you do have so many centers in that 5 to 6K range that have high ceilings. You also, around Nick Claxton, have Alperen Şengün in a good spot. You have Sabonis, who's a little bit more expensive. So it's still, just difficult to prioritize him, but the ceiling is definitely there. The rest of the Nets don't really look that interesting because guys like Yuta Watanabe, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, like they're not doing anything to create. They're not taking on a bunch more usage just because they're shorthanded. That usage
they need to just fall in the peripherals or shoot lights out.
Right. The usage is going to be going to guys like Sumner, Thomas, Mills, Warren, who is 4,600. So I think Sumner, assuming he starts, is the guy I get to the most from Brooklyn. Cam Thomas and Patty Mills, I both think are interesting, like tournament gambles. I don't think the ownership gap should be as wide as it is. If Simmons is out, they both are going to end up just looking a little bit better.
All right. We'll get to Dallas soon enough. And that gets even more interesting. But Yeah, if Simmons does sit, does that create any priority here, or is it kind of just in line with what you were saying about a lot of these guys still? I mean, because it's not like Ben Simmons is a high usage player, but more ball handling responsibilities, maybe a few scattered rebound opportunities with him off the floor.
So I think the starting lineup will tell us at least a little bit, because if Simmons is in, I assume you're getting the same starting lineup as last game, just with Simmons replacing Curry. If Simmons is out, though, if you get one of Cam Thomas or Patty Mills starting, then you can just feel a bit better about their playing time than you would if they were coming off the bench. If you get something like Watanabe starting, then you're still just going to have Thomas and Mills as high upside plays that are scary to get to. But hopefully the starting lineup would kind of answer the question there as far as who ends up looking the best other than Sumner if Simmons is out. But one way or the other, I think Mills and Thomas end up looking better if Ben Simmons sits.
3 down, 5 to go. Some of these certainly won't take as long as the others. I tell you that much. But we still got to talk about the San Antonio Spurs, the Chicago Bulls. Before we do, though, by the way, appreciate you guys at 300 likes. We got 200 to go in 32 minutes. Feels like a lock. Feels like yeah. But I'm not even going to ask. I'm just going to assume that of the 2,100 people here, there are 200 people who are willing to take a single second of their time and be kind and courteous here on February 6th. But check out No House Advantage, man. Well, I mentioned it last week. Like Alex Baker, he had the tweet. It pays to take advantage of the overlay on No House Advantage. What was it? 12,000 did he chop, Jordan? He chopped, and it was like $12,000 win on the NFL championship weekend. Yeah, because the overlay's been nuts there. And you're getting the $100 first match deposit bonus when you use the link in the description or the one in chat. The overlay is unmatched. Like you will not find it on DraftKings. DraftKings is filling these contests and then just putting out like secondary and third contests and everything for the same thing because they're filling them. And if FanDuel overlays, they'll just cancel. But joke. Well, God. But in terms of No House Advantage, like the overlay is essentially built in. They're a new site. They want people to check it out. In order to do so, it's like, hey, we have overlay here. You should check it out and play because there's no learning curve. You're just taking props. Someone just said he uses this show for props. Yeah, why not? Use all of our free No House Advantage tools. The projections we have the No House Advantage optimal lineup tool that gives you our optimal lineups. It has the No House Advantage projections, giving you the win percentage on the over and the under, giving you our projections against the prop line. There's so many inefficient lines here. They're static. They don't move throughout the day. Go compare some of these to like actual sportsbook lines. They're insane. Like the Dame Lillard the other day, 23.5 points. It was 33.5 on DraftKings. Dude, all you're doing is you're taking the ones you like the most. There's no juice on either side. Just take the over or the under. And you're putting them into a lineup. The ones you like the most go at the top. They get the most points. The ones you're least confident in, they go at the bottom. They get the fewest points. Like tonight, 5K up top. It is 16% filled right now. 16% filled with an hour and a half to go. You do the math there on that overlay. It's insane. All the tools at Stokastic are free under the NBA dropdown. First match deposit bonus, 100% up to $100 when you use the link in the description or in chat. And of course, the overlay is just so significant that it'd be crazy not to try and take advantage of that. They also have against the house too. You play against the house. You got that format where you 21x your entry if you hit all of your picks. A lot of different ways to do it, make money, sustain a bankroll, and really beat that overlay with what they're putting out there. So check it out. 20K to first for the Super Bowl too. That's going to be fun. That's 4% filled. So see if we get there. No House Advantage, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Links in the description and in chat. If you haven't signed up yet, no better time to do so right now than right now. All right.
Jaylen Brown is out.
Say it again.
Jaylen Brown is out.
Okay. Ooh. What do you think? What do you think Tatum's ownership looks like now?
I mean, it goes up for sure. We had him at 8%. We had Giannis at 28. I don't know if Giannis's comes down or if Tatum's just goes up, but you'll definitely see it go up a bit. He's not going to get as popular as Giannis is, and he shouldn't, but definitely going to increase.
Yeah. Okay.
It really should make. I mean, it's going to make Derek White look better. It's going to make Malcolm Brogdon look better as well.
Would either of those guys be priorities or just decent spots?
Not priorities because they're guards. Brogdon's at 1.25 fantasy points per minute without Brown on the floor this year, and that should help to solidify his playing time. Derek White played 35 minutes last game. He's 5,600. Not as good a point per minute guy as Brogdon, but should play a bunch of minutes. So yeah, I mean, either one ends up being a priority, but right now you were getting 3% ownership to White and 1% to Brogdon. Those both certainly should come up.
Hey, shit, man, someone has to take on more responsibility as a playmaker and from a usage standpoint with Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart out the floor. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like, you're going to probably get Peyton Pritchard in the rotation now as well. Not sure that he'll be out there for enough minutes that I really want him, but at 3,200, it's not the worst thing to gamble on. More minutes available for Grant Williams at 3,400 potentially.
Brogdon's played 318 minutes with Smart and Jaylen Brown off the floor this year, 1.26 DraftKings points per minute. That's a nice number.
Yeah. The price tag is scary for him coming off the bench, but
yeah,
I mean, you're vacating 36 minutes or so from Jaylen Brown.
Last question here though, how many minutes do you think realistically we could see from Brogdon today? Because if it's a good amount, that price point looks a little less imposing.
28 to 30.
Okay. So that's,
I think it's like the project. He could play more. I think
right.
Projecting 28 to 30 makes sense.
Seems reasonable. Yeah. Okay. I got you. Let's talk about the Spurs then. Keep this one rolling. Spurs, Chicago Bulls at home, 10-point favorites, 239 total. So Keldon Johnson's questionable.
Hang on 1 second just to finish up on Brown, because I just looked.
Yeah, go ahead.
9 games this year where Smart has been out and Tatum has played. Brogdon has averaged 27.2 minutes per game. That's nothing to do with Jaylen Brown. It's just to kind of reiterate, like, I at least expect him in that range.
Right. Yeah, it's not like Jaylen Brown's a low usage guy. I mean, what's his usage this year? It's got to be up around 30.
Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I think
it's like
30.
I thought it was like 31 or something.
I think it's like 31 and change.
Yeah, 31 and a half. So yeah, significant. All right. Keldon Johnson is questionable, but he went through shoot around. Aside from that, though, Sohan is out. Trey Jones remains out as well. So you're going to get some ownership going to some cheaper San Antonio Spurs today. How justified is the dirt cheap Stanley Johnson, the lower mid-range Josh Richardson type plays today?
Yeah, I mean, it scares me, but at the same time, you got about 29 minutes from Stanley Johnson last game. He played like 12 and a half in the first half. He's not a bad point per minute guy, even if he's, not the best NBA player. He's just going to look like a good value here with Trey Jones still out. You got 35 minutes in that game from Malachi Branham. His salary has come up a bit to 4,500. So he's still playable, but he's not nearly the priority that he was on that most recent slate. But 3,300 for Stanley Johnson is just going to look good from a point per dollar standpoint, but also because he is small forward, power forward. And so much of the value that we have today is at the guard spots, whether that's Jaden Hardy or Edmund Sumner, or if you want to include Cam Thomas and Patty Mills, Jordan Poole, like all those guys are guards. So getting a nice cheap option here in Stanley Johnson is just going to be a pretty easy guy to get to. Same goes for Josh Richardson, who has small forward eligibility as well. He's pulling 18% ownership. He started last game, only played 26 minutes. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. But, even if you're getting 26 to 28 minutes from him, he's going to look like a reasonable option, even though the price tag has come up a little bit.
Anyone else you want to hit on here for the Spurs?
Yeah, the centers are both fine. Jakob Poeltl, I kind of mentioned him earlier, but 5,900. He's another 5 to 6K center that is pulling some ownership and should be. If this game's competitive and he avoids foul trouble, you're likely getting around 26, 27 minutes from him. He's about a 1.25 to 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Devin Vassell. Zach Collins is going to back him up. I don't totally agree with the ownership Zach Collins is getting at 12% at 4,300. Seems a little bit high for me, but if you get Poeltl in foul trouble, you could easily get 22 to 24 minutes from Collins.
Looking on the Bulls side of this one, you've got DraftKings, Zach LaVine, 8,100, around 16%. Using our ownership projections, of course. Check them out if you haven't done so. 50% off your first week. Link is down there. You want to get 50% off everything, including basketball, but all of our tools. Zach LaVine, 8,100, 16%. DeRozan, 8,800, 16%. Vooch, 9,100, highest player on this team, 7%. Look at FanDuel, though, just vastly different. 35% ownership projection going to DeMar DeRozan today. It's 8,400. Zach LaVine is 7,600. at 32. Vooch is 8,300. I mean, this is one of the highest owned trios on the slate when it comes to FanDuel.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if that holds now that we have Jason Tatum looking better at forward spots. But yeah, tons of ownership coming in there. Just, pretty easy to get to it on FanDuel. Ownership coming in on DraftKings as well, just not quite as much. DeRozan and Levine both 15 to 16% owned. I think Levine's a little bit easier to get to since he's shooting guard, small forward, but at the same time, there's so many good guards today that might not matter quite as much. They both look good. Vooch is another one, like I was saying with Nick Claxton, where I really like the ceiling that Vooch offers you. It's just there's so many good centers on this slate. I'm not sure that prioritizing Vooch is going to be where I'm at, but certainly, a very, very high upside option here. I saw it come up in chat. We talked about it a lot this morning too. Andre Drummond has been back in the rotation the last couple of games. If Alex Caruso is out tonight, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again. It's a very, very risky option one way or the other, but 3,100 for Andre Drummond, if you happen to get him playing like 13 or 14 minutes behind Vooch, certainly at no ownership can give you a very, very good tournament lineup. But keep in mind, there's no guarantee he plays even if Caruso is out. If Caruso's in, I become even more hesitant to go to Drummond just because it makes it easier for them to play Derek Jones as the backup center.
Maybe you get some extended blowout run here too.
Yeah, always possible.
Double-digit spread against the bad, beat-up Spurs team. But yeah, I mean, clearly a huge risk. Yeah, he's an awesome per minute guy, but anytime you're hoping like you get 2 fantasy points per minute at 13 minutes, doesn't matter how good.
I mean, realistically, that's you're actually sweating when Vooch comes out of the game, seeing who even comes in.
Of course, but I'm saying like it's the Ben Rasa principle. Like you need him to do well, but you also need him to play. Like it's not just okay, he's gonna play. We need him to do well. Like you need both of those to go well. You need to get both right.
Right. Yeah, you need him to play, and then you need him to also play well.
Yeah, like he could play 13 minutes and still only have 16 fantasy points.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he played cool, but didn't get there. All right.
Would not touch it outside of the largest tournaments. Man,
maybe you're right. Maybe it doesn't hold, but 3 of the top highest owned players among the top 9 highest owned players, 3 of them are Chicago Bulls on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's wild. Like the prices are appealing. I mean, you have Levine $500 less expensive than he is on DraftKings. DeRozan's $400 less. Vooch is $800 less. So I mean, I get it, and it's a good spot.
Sure. All right, Kings, Houston. Where are we at? Game 6. Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox, by the way, is going to play. He was questionable. He had missed 2 games with the personal stuff, but he's back. By the way, what do you make of this whole Ja Morant saga with the red laser?
I just hope he doesn't get suspended. I have Grizzlies plus 1,600 to win.
You think it was a gun, or do you think they had one of those old boardwalk laser pointers?
No, I think they had a gun.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Was he confirmed in the vehicle?
So I mean, I don't know what to make of it because the articles all said that the NBA investigated and that basically nothing is coming from it.
Right.
So if that's the case, I feel like it can't be the way it's being described.
Pretty wild story though, right?
Yeah. But yeah, they said they weren't able to corroborate a lot of it, but I think it has been not really disputed that he was in the car.
All right, let's talk about the Sacramento Kings. Domantas Sabonis, 9,500. De'Aaron Fox is back in the mix today. Of course, some of these price tags have increased incrementally, nothing crazy with De'Aaron Fox out, but some of them have definitely come up. And now, really, Sabonis is the only one getting any ownership. But I do kind of want to talk to you about De'Aaron Fox today. I know there's a lot of guard plays, no doubt, from a value perspective, some higher owned plays that are in good spots that we haven't even gotten to yet. Fox, before the injury, had been looking pretty solid. He's getting 3% right now. And it's not just that he's getting 3%, but it is up against this Houston Rockets team in a game that has a near 240 total, and they're 7-point favorites.
Yeah, I like this game from a tournament standpoint because I think you are going to see low ownership basically throughout this game because it's just difficult to prioritize a lot of these guys. But the game environment here is just so appealing. $8,500 De'Aaron Fox would normally be a pretty popular option going up against Houston, but it's just how many good guards you have. You have Jordan Poole for $2,300 less. And so that's going to be what kind of keeps you from getting there. But if you are going with a little bit more mid-range build, maybe you're not getting up to Giannis, you can go to somebody like De'Aaron Fox and get a very high ceiling. Same goes for Sabonis. I think it's interesting that this morning we had like twice the ownership going to Sabonis. We didn't have Fox projected in, but Sabonis's production this year with or without Fox is about the same. And, on the one hand, yeah, there's more opportunities if Fox is out, but the two-man game between Sabonis and Fox is so good that, Sabonis benefits from Fox being out there instead of Davion Mitchell, who does nothing offensively. So it's kind of the same. It's the same production one way or the other, and you're just getting less ownership on Sabonis now because of Fox being in. It is very difficult to get there, though, because you have a bunch of centers that are literally half the price tag that look good. So that's why you're not seeing more ownership here, despite the good matchup. It's just difficult from a projection standpoint to get there. But considering the range of outcomes, considering how high the ceilings on these guys are, they're still interesting. And then when you look at the wings, particularly Herder and Barnes, pulling less than 1% ownership, you don't need to be getting to a lot of them to be over the field.
So on Houston, Alperen Sengun has been a moving target, to put it lightly. I mean, this guy is hard to get right, but his price has dropped significantly. He's facing Sacramento. He's getting some love, but I mean, what is he? 16% on FanDuel at $8,000 right now. So, I mean, the FanDuel price point seems pretty appealing despite his, lack of production of late. DraftKings is entirely different, center eligible only. But do you still have some interest on FanDuel? 8,000 flat Sengun in a pretty solid, fast-paced spot.
Yeah, he's getting ownership there, whereas he's not on DraftKings. But I'm not overly concerned about him. He was in foul trouble last game, but when he's not in foul trouble, you're still typically getting mid-30s in minutes. Obviously, going up against Sabonis, you have foul risk, but he should get mid-30s if he avoids that. He's about a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor. He's still out. Green coming back, cuts into Sengun a little bit, but it's not that
I think
big
it might help him, honestly.
Right. Like at the same time, it's somebody else on the floor that,
got no shooters out. Yeah.
Right. Like it's harder to just single in on Sengun if Jalen Green is playing. So I still like Sengun. I really like the 8K price tag on FanDuel. On DraftKings at 8,600, I like the lack of ownership. But again, it's just one of those situations where it's tough to prioritize because he's so much more expensive at a position that has a high opportunity cost. But the ceiling for him is still massive.
Super chat. Riley Cooper. The Riley Cooper?
Oh, your favorite.
Huh?
Said one of your favorite players, right?
Well, hold on a second, dude. He did say fly, Eagles, fly in the super chat. I mean, you know what number Riley Cooper was?
I have no idea what number Riley Cooper was.
All right, scroll up in chat for a second. Just fucking play along for a second, dude.
I'm going to guess 14.
Thank you. Riley Cooper was number. Is it the real Riley Cooper? I don't know. Any love for Blake Wesley? Fly, Eagles, fly. Agree with that part, brother. Yeah, any love? Go ahead.
Not really. He played 18 minutes last game, but he played the final 14 minutes of the game in what was kind of a non-competitive game. Like Josh Richardson never came back in. He played less than 4 minutes in the first half. So I have a hard time thinking that he's ahead of any of these other guys. If he doesn't start, I have a hard time wanting to get there.
All right. And then we had another super chat from, and no, there's literal pictures. If you look up Riley Cooper wearing number 14. So I don't know where there's actual look, search it. You'll see 14 on the jersey.
I wasn't debating it. I just didn't.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. And then we got Jason Sweet. Just saying thanks with a super chat. All right. Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anybody else you want to talk about with Houston, or should we move it on to Dallas? Because we're going to have a lot to digest here.
I like the upside for Jalen Green. We didn't really talk about him, but only 6,900 on DraftKings. Should play a bunch of minutes, has a 31.5% usage rate without Kevin Porter Jr. Same issue that you're running into with a lot of other guards, but he's capable of going out there and putting up 50 plus.
Talk about Dallas, man. So for those of you that have not been tuned in, right, haven't been dialed in, Doncic is out. Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith involved in this trade. Christian Wood expects to play. Now, he hasn't played since I think like the 18th of January, but he expects to play. And it wasn't a lower body. So I don't know how limited he's going to be, Adam, but
I don't think he will be.
I don't think he will be either. Dude's a shooter too. We've seen some ridiculous performances from Christian Wood, solid enough rebounder. I never thought I'd be thinking like the Frank Ntilikina questionable though could be so valuable, such valuable information, because right now it actually is.
Yeah, it really is. And the starting lineup is going to be important here as well. My best guess is that, so I'm assuming that Christian Wood is going to start, Josh Green, Dwight Powell, Tim Hardaway Jr., and then I would guess one of Ntilikina or Jaden Hardy. If Ntilikina's out, it could be Wright or Hardy. I mean, I guess it could be Wright anyway, but I would strongly lean toward Ntilikina or Hardy starting. If Ntilikina's out, I think it would be Wright or Hardy most likely. So at 3,400, we have Hardy pulling a ton of ownership, 46%. If he starts, I certainly agree with that. I feel, just better about his minutes. If he starts, you are likely to see a decrease in usage from him playing more minutes alongside Hardaway and Wood, but still just very, very cheap and should be out there enough to where he's going to look good. If he comes off the bench, I still think he's a good play. He's just that much riskier because you don't know exactly what the rotation is going to look like. There's some chance that he plays 20 to 22 minutes and you just have this guy playing 20 minutes at 40% owned. But he looks good one way or the other. Certainly feel better if he starts though. Christian Wood at 8,400 pulling 18% ownership. I think that makes sense, assuming he's starting. If he comes off the bench, I would be a little bit more concerned about his playing time. But if he starts, I assume he's just going to be good to go. It was a thumb injury, so he should be fine as far as conditioning goes. Tim Hardaway Jr. looks really good on FanDuel. He looks fine on DraftKings at 6,400, but not as good as the $5,200 price tag on FanDuel. Without Dinwiddie or Doncic on the floor this year, he's got about a 27% usage rate. Limited sample since for the most part, when Doncic isn't on the floor, Dinwiddie is, but 78 minutes, 27.9% usage rate for Hardaway, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute in 81 minutes for Wood. Hardy in 103 minutes is at 0.91 DraftKings points per minute. Ntilikina in 111 minutes is at 0.48 DraftKings points per minute, 25% true shooting, which is just shockingly bad. If Ntilikina starts at 3K, he's playable, but just keep in mind, he's like the Davion Mitchell play, where you're just hoping he gets you like 20 fantasy points. Jaden Hardy is somebody that can actually produce fantasy points, and he's the one that, is just certainly a lot more exciting to get to.
Ntilikina is the legit zero for fantasy often.
Sucks.
Christian Wood, though, really interesting today because you just had, think about this. If he comes in and plays regular minutes, let's say he gets even 33, 34 minutes, $8,400 with power forward eligibility and center eligibility, without Luka, without Spencer Dinwiddie, and then just the cast of misfits ultimately outside of Tim Hardaway is going to have decent usage for sure. Ntilikina isn't. A lot of these guys just aren't going to be getting a sufficient amount of shots up to be viable in terms of actually siphoning off all of that lost usage between Dinwiddie and Doncic. Very possible that Christian Wood just has a massive workload tonight, and he's a solid enough rebounder.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with the Nets, where there's a very limited number of guys on Dallas right now that can do anything offensively other than catch and shoot. And those guys are Tim Hardaway, Christian Wood, Jaden Hardy. And that's about it, I think. So, again, that's just where you can expect so much of the usage to go. And then these other guys, whether it's, Dwight Powell, Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, Ntilikina, they can be out there for more minutes. So they're going to look better than usual, but you just can't expect them to take on a bigger role offensively because that's just not who they are.
Who do you think will start today if Ntilikina's in?
My guess is Hardy, but it could certainly be Ntilikina.
Yeah, Ntilikina started back mid-January when Doncic was out too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like Josh and I talked about it this morning. If they prefer just bringing Hardy off the bench because you already have the two high usage guys in Hardaway and Christian Wood with the starters, that would be fine and make sense. Wouldn't be surprising if maybe you saw Hardy come off the bench but then close. I think that's a possibility as well. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if they just approach this as hey, we have an NBA game where we can get Jaden Hardy a bunch of minutes.
Let me ask you one more thing here, just so we're leaving no stone unturned with such a wild game or team. If Ntilikina is out, right, and then you're taking 3 guards that were naturally on the team, Ntilikina not really in the rotation, but would have been. If he's out, do you look to get some McKinley Wright?
So I think McKinley Wright would be like the next guy up. Last game, he played 13 and a half minutes. AJ Lawson played 11. Ntilikina only played 2 in that game, by the way. Yeah. But Theo Pinson played 7. Like, I think McKinley Wright will be the next guy up. We have seen him at times play actual meaningful minutes this year. 129 minutes overall, 0.77 DraftKings points per minute. For what it's worth, Pinson's at 0.7. So yeah, if Ntilikina's out, I would be more interested in McKinley Wright than I am right now. He is already 3,500, which, not a huge deal, but like that's $100 more than Hardy. It's 500 more than Ntilikina. He's also point guard only, so you don't get quite as much flexibility where Ntilikina's point guard and shooting guard. Hardy is shooting guard only. So it's just a little bit easier to get to those guys from a roster construction standpoint too.
Hannah said, I have atoned. Yeah, thank you, Hannah. When we crushed 500 likes, still plenty of time to go. Andrew L. Father Laffy, forgive me for I have disliked. Why, man? I hope you hit it twice at least. Come on. At least hit it twice. What's that?
Ben Simmons is out. Karis LeVert is in. TJ Warren is in.
Yeah, so Ben Simmons silent. We talked about that. Plus, you got Live Before Lock with Greg and Eric coming up after this. So do not go anywhere. They'll break all of this down, especially if news starts pouring in as you and I are closing this one out. Talk about the Utah Jazz here on the other side of this game. They are unsurprisingly 9-point favorites, 222 total. Jared Vanderbilt questionable. Only real pending news we have in this game. What are your thoughts on a very cheap Kelly Olynyk today?
I like Olynyk a lot. I'm kind of surprised he's not getting more ownership. I had said before their last game, because you saw Olynyk come back. He played like 15 minutes, then he played 20. He was 4K last game. And I said that I thought at like 20 to 22 minutes, he looked okay. If you guaranteed he was going to play 24 or 25, I'd be really interested. He came out and played 30. And as a starter overall this year, he's averaged 28 minutes per game. You always have foul risk with him, but there's no real reason to think he's not playing his normal minutes now. You also have a questionable Jared Vanderbilt, which if he's out, you certainly could be getting Kelly Olynyk as the backup center in addition to starting alongside Walker Kessler. So I really like Olynyk at 4,100. As far as Fords go, he's one of my favorite values, and I'm kind of surprised he's not more popular.
Yeah, well, once you get past Olynyk and I'm looking at just most of this team, Markkanen's not cheap. Clarkson's up there, 6,500. Like Mike Conley, I guess this is the obligatory, hey, do you like Mike Conley today because he's relatively inexpensive and usually gives us pretty consistent production, albeit, pretty predictable production as well with a pretty low ceiling.
Yeah, there's nothing else that stands out as a great option here. Mike Conley showing up about 12% of the time. He's been playing better recently. Also, picking up a few more minutes. Expecting 30 to 32 from him is certainly reasonable. Walker Kessler, I mentioned him earlier, but just another one of these $5,400 center options that has a massive ceiling thanks to his ability to block shots. If Vanderbilt is out, maybe you get a little bit more playing time from Kessler as well. That's certainly something that wouldn't be surprising. Clarkson, Markkanen, last guy in type pieces are perfectly fine. They certainly have ceilings, and this isn't as unappealing a matchup as it normally would be because Dallas is playing without most of their team and also likely to play at least somewhat faster pace without Luka.
They should, yeah. Mike Conley's been fine, but it's crazy. 17% usage rate over his last 10. So
yeah, it's just the assists.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got to speed this one up a little bit. But they got everything coming up on the other side. So we got to speed this up a little bit. Talking about Milwaukee here. We got into Giannis at the top of the show. We could talk about him a little bit. Drew Holiday. And then, Chris Middleton still hasn't played more than 20 minutes since he returned.
Yeah, I said this morning, he's going to break a slate sooner than later because you're just going to get him playing more minutes at a dropping price tag. But there's nothing to indicate that that night is tonight. If he starts, and this kind of is just evergreen going forward, then immediately you should be projecting him for more minutes. But until that happens, it's pretty difficult to think he's playing more than 20 to 22 until we see it. So I don't really have much interest in getting there. Maybe like if you're playing 150 lineups, again, you can hope to get lucky, but nothing I'm prioritizing. To me, Giannis and Holiday are the two priorities. Giannis, 12-1, but also just forward eligible. So very easy to get to him. There's plenty of value on the slate to get there as well. On FanDuel, 12-2, small forward, power forward should be easy enough to get to also. Drew Holiday's down to 7,600 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. I just don't really know why that price tag is dropping. You have a perfectly reasonable matchup here. 124 implied total for Milwaukee is, I believe, the highest on the slate, or just behind the Bulls, who are taking on San Antonio. So he looks good. But outside of those two, I don't really see much from the Bucks.
Do you see anything you like on the Portland side?
Yeah, Dame and Eubanks. So Dame at 10-6, again, you have the point guard issue, but he is one of the best projected players on the slate.
Yeah.
He looks very, very good at that price tag. He's playing huge minutes. You get a bump in usage without Yusuf Nurkic as well. Eubanks should start at 3,800. We've seen him splitting 48 minutes with Trendon Watford, who is 3,700 with power forward eligibility. If you want to play some Watford as well in non-Eubanks lineups, that's perfectly fine. We've seen Watford close over Eubanks several times recently. Part of that was foul trouble. Part of it was just normal rotations. I think expecting 25 or 26 minutes from Eubanks and 22 or 23 from Watford makes sense. And it makes them both just look like decent options. Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart, all secondary plays. I was getting to quite a bit of Grant earlier. I think that's going to change a little bit now that we've gotten some more forward value that's opened up. But just because he is power forward eligible at 6,600, he was kind of showing up as just a really useful piece.
All right. Hey, let's wrap this. Oklahoma City, Golden State Warriors. Before we do, I told you, you got Stokastic. Jordan, you'll play the Hall of Fame from the last one, right? Because, we've still got some good ones. Coming up between this and Live Before Lock, stick around for that. We induct some people. We give out free monthly membership subscriptions, $120 value to all of our tools. If you're rocking the avatar and you still haven't gotten there yet, though, let me make life a little bit easier for you. Ask yourself this. Do you have 2 minutes and $10? If you do, throw that link in chat, Jordan. It's in the description too. BetMGM. Put $10 down after you use that link. Follow the very simple steps. Takes 2 minutes to sign up. Throw it down on, say, a prop tonight that Adam has in his video, or something that Greg or Eric did on OddsShopper, or just something you like, whether it's a side, a total, a prop, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, just has to be $10 or more if you want, but only has to be $10. After that settles, you're getting all of our tools the entirety of the month, $120 value. The reason we do this is because we want you to win, and we think you will win with these tools. And we keep adding new tools. We keep expanding, putting the best stuff out there, from ownership to player projections to the top stack tools to everything, not just for basketball, but for every sport. The boom bust tool, you name it, lineup generator, the premium Discord. The hope is that, hey, you win a lot of money and you want to stick around. And in order to do so, you need $10. And you have to be able to play at BetMGM. It's as much of a no-brainer as it gets. But if that's not enough, your first bet insurance up to $1,000. If you lose, your first bet. Now, if you win, you get paid out as you normally would, and you get the free month. If you lose, you get the free month of Stokastic anyway. But you also get everything back in bonus bets up to $1,000. So whether it's 10, 50, 100, or 1,000 on your first bet, everything comes back in bonus bets just to sweeten the pot. So free month of Stokastic, every tool on the site, and the first bet insurance. Links in the description and in chat. Legit no-brainer. And we'd love to have you guys over here join the community. Must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Boom. All right. Talk to me. OKC, Golden State Warriors. I'll just flip this one over to you. We're short on time. No Steph Curry, and Lou Dort remains out on the other side of this one.
Yeah, so starting with the OKC side, it's the normal for OKC. SGA looks really good if you can get there. Josh Giddey looks good as well. I will say that the ownership gap between SGA and Damian Lillard is pretty wild to me, given that you're getting a bump in usage with Dort out for SGA. You're getting that bump for Lillard with Nurkic out, as well. But Lillard getting 3 times the ownership is pretty crazy. We finally saw last game what happens when SGA actually makes some shots on this increased usage. He had about a 41% usage rate in that game. He's at about 41% overall without Dort on the floor this year, about 35 or 36% in the individual games without Dort. So very, very high ceiling for SGA in a good spot here as well. Don't totally understand why he's getting 1/3 the ownership. Josh Giddey pulling 11%. I think that looks fine. If Jalen Williams starts at 3,100, Jalen Williams, the center, at 3,100, sure, but keep in mind there's no guarantee he even starts the second half. As far as the Golden State side goes, huge priorities here, namely Jordan Poole, 6,200. Probably the best play on the slate, all things considered. 6,200 is just, $1,500 to $2,000 less than he's going to be very, very soon. He's averaged about 36 minutes per game in the games he's played without Curry and with Klay Thompson this year. He's got about a 36% usage rate in those games. Just very, very obvious play. There's nothing really priced around him that is even comparable. Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins both look better with Curry out as well. Draymond doesn't look really any different, but at 6,400, playing 32, 33 minutes, he's just going to be a decent option. Kevon Looney at 4,700, I think is kind of a sneaky tournament play. You could certainly see upper 20s in minutes from him, assuming he's back in the starting lineup now. But Jordan Poole, the very, very clear top option. Klay and Wiggins are 2 and 3.
Is Poole your favorite option as the slate stands right now? Is he your favorite option on the slate?
Yes. In terms of just guy that I expect to have the most exposure to, yes.
Appreciate it, man. Hey, follow Adam. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS. Shout out to Jordan Klein producing this one as always. He's always worried something bad's going to happen. But today we escape unscathed. And follow me at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. Yo, remember that Bet Pro tool. Looking to get in a little betting action? Totally free for the first week. Use it for BetMGM, whatever it is. No House Advantage, sponsor of the show. Overlay over there. But more than anything, let's have a great night. Come back here tomorrow and do it again. Stick around. Greg and Eric, live before lock. Coming up next. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you fine people, and we got a lot of them today into the Hall of Fame right here at Stokastic. And of course, give out some free monthly memberships, $120 value to Stokastic Plus Platinum. Let's get it going. But first, you want to get involved? All you got to do is go to stokastic.com/avatar. Download the avatar, the profile pic, use it wherever it is you play, and tweet your wins to @Stokastic HOF on Twitter. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Boom, you're in. Free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, and you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame right here every week with yours truly. Let's kick it off with a big one here. And I got to say, makes me feel good seeing the brand new lineup generator helping Rajal win $50,000, saying thank you guys so much. The process has finally paid off. The lineup generator helped me build this. $50K, baby, with the lineup generator. Absolutely have to love that over there on Stokastic. And then Tom Kennedy, Stokastic CEO, coming up big. First and fifth place, 100,000, 2,000 in the NBA fadeaway. Another huge one here at Team Stokastic. And how about our boy SG? Some really nice lineups in the last couple of weeks. Shout out to the guys at Stokastic. That's $5,000 for Sean Geezy, and then $4,000 in just a couple weeks apart. Congrats, man. That's huge. And how about Alex Baker, Awesemo himself? Boom. I love this. You see the No House Advantage. We talk about the overlay every single day. Boom. It pays to take advantage of the overlay on No House Advantage. I see what you did there, fella. Tied for first, 12,000. Third place, a bunch of time. I mean, just taking it down top to bottom. Our boy Alex Baker taking that overlay and turning it into something big over there at No House Advantage. And Rick woke up after a short nap to this. Yeah, that must have been pleasant. I just can't say enough about how awesome this site is. And to the @DBC, I listen every day. I had to ask Jordan what that was. Thanks for all the laughs as well as the info. Much love. Big $15,000 win for Rick. Congrats, Rick. That's big. And Ernesto, $5,000. Ex-Royal Pro. Just a bunch of hands. Hands up. Hey, shout out to you guys. It's Stokastic. Congrats, Ernesto. And Austin Mills, we're getting closer. Tagging Matt Gajeski here in the 250K spy, fifth place, $5,000 to Austin. Followed up by R.E.R.I. Lee. Well, I know what WTF, bro, 97. This one's big. $500. One entry. And you want to talk about massive bankroll boost, huge ROI. In the quarter, fadeaway, 25-cent entry, $500 first out of 41,000. Thank you to everyone at Stokastic for the amazing projections, content, and tools for the awesome takedown. Yeah, that's massive, man. And Robert Demore, you guys are the best. YouTube show really helped me. Free month, let's go. Hell yeah, dude. $1,000 in the NFL 10K huddle. Hey, they just keep coming. T-Buzz, thanks to Stokastic. Love the NBA lineup builder. Yep, we got that too. Paired with the deeper dive and live before lock shows really helped me last night. Mid-range jumper, 1,500, second place, big. And then Optimal Prime or Crook with the Rook. Good looking Stokastic team, best tools in the business. They also have a lot of content to help explain how to apply these tools. Yeah, otherwise it's going to be tough. Hopefully I can still get my free month. Absolutely, dude. $12,500 for Optimal Prime. And Thomas Goss, nice little lick in the end. Here, dude, the ROI on this one's crazy. Turn my $6 into $1,000 thanks to the crew. And of course, awesome ODDSS for all the strategic content and analysis. It doesn't stop there because you got our boy EMAC. Thanks to Stokastic, changed DFS sites for a new challenge. The Stokastic tools have been fire along with the advice from the fellas on the shows. EMAC, look at that, second for $1,000. And then Matt, woo, love your content. He says $600 in the pick and roll. Third place, I'm running out of breath here. Let's go to the betting side for a second because we got the NBA prop tool out now as well. Best 250, don't expect this on everyone, but best 250 ever spent. NBA betting tools strike again. Yeah, BetPro's been insane. 250 in the 700 and a 22 leg same game parlay. Congrats, brother, from Buffalo. And to close these out, H, Stokastic Hall of Fame, thanks. Hey, first place in the quarter jukebox. Told you guys a million times, you know this. Doesn't matter what field or how much you're playing. As long as you're rocking the avatar, you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. You're getting up here and you're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. And lastly, Rowdy DFS, I assume, or Rowdy FS, finally took down the NBA dribbler on FanDuel. It's close enough to 5K entries with current inflation. Thanks for all the shows, bros. Congrats to all of you guys. Remember, Stokastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame and win a free month, Stokastic Plus Platinum, and get inducted right here.
What is happening, everybody, and welcome to the Stokastic NBA Strategy Show. Well, no, live before lock. But anyway, everything looks a little different around here. Everything looks different around. I did a strategy show right before this. Everything looks a little bit different around here. I got my hair cut. I'm also in my childhood bedroom because everybody in my house has COVID. So I'm staying at my parents' where they're away on vacation right now. Just an easy way to get away from everybody and make sure that I don't get sick. And Eric is back. Eric has not been here for a very long time. He was over in South Dakota, one of the Dakotas. Who gives a shit? It's the same.
Bradley Beal ruled out. Hello.
All right, so we'll talk about that in a second. So Eric was in one of the Dakotas and finally made his way back. He was on the no-fly list. It took him a second to figure out how to get back, but here he is. He's back. How was your weekend? How was your buddy's wedding?
It was great. Beautiful wedding. South Dakota. We got there with 6 degrees with a -19 wind chill when we dropped down on Thursday. It got way better. Had a 36-degree wedding day. Ended up being a perfect, charming little day. You get that nice cool air, that South Dakota stuff that you don't get. You get to LA and you're just inhaling fumes immediately. So air quality a little bit better in South Dakota because there's no people in South Dakota, but had a great time. Great to be back. And I don't really have a better story than what you just started to tell me previously on in the interim. So do you want to get into why you're having such a tough day, Gregory?
I mean, the main reason I have a tough day is because my entire family is COVID, and I didn't want to get COVID, so I just left my house.
But that's secondary to something else going on in your life.
Yeah, so as people could tell, I got a haircut, and it got totally fucked up, like absolutely fucked up. And what I was telling there, here's how you know that your haircut got fucked up. You know it gets really messed up when a couple things happen. Number one, they won't face you towards the mirror when you're at the barber shop. They will only face you in the other direction. And when he has to call over the other barbers and they start conferencing in Spanish to discuss what to do next. And I speak a little bit of Spanish because I've been practicing on Duolingo. So I know that
Qué lástima.
Yeah, so I know that they're sitting here and they're just like no, they don't know what to do. Basically, I wanted to get a fade down the side and get like a short scissor cut on top because that was what I got last time at the same barbershop, and I thought it looked good. My girlfriend really liked it, so I was like, I'm just gonna do the exact same thing again. And the guy we were like 45 minutes in, and he was like, your hair is going in all different directions. I don't know how to do this. And that's when he called over the other guys. They're having a conference and everything. And then I was an hour and 45 minutes there and I said, just buzz it off. Like, I can't do it. I just
Jordan, can we zoom in just on the hairline? It looks like you have a comb over without having hair. It looks like you have everything to one side.
Eventually, I was just I have other shit to do today. Just buzz it off. They didn't charge me. I left. And that's why I grew my hair out so long last time. There we go. So, and it's also kind of twofold as an issue because I went so long without a haircut that when I picked my hair out and combed it, it would be out to here before. Like my hair was massive and they just couldn't cut it. And I'm happy to be moving forward with my day.
Look at this. There's like little shards of it like hanging out over the edge on the left.
I also need to take a shower. Some of it is just hair that's just there. Like it'll be better after I shower. I have not had the chance to shower because I went right from that to I had multiple meetings this afternoon. I had to interview somebody. I had a So Rare show to do. So it'll be marginally better when I take a shower. But yeah, in general, it's a disaster. I'm aware of it. Like I should have just kept the afro.
New nickname, Greg Ehrenberg. There it is. Done.
But before I was really more of Greg Ehrenberg when I had the giant hair.
Yeah, but now you're still Greg Ehrenberg. You're Greg, not as good of Ehrenberg.
There we go. Yeah, that one really rolls off the tongue. I like that.
Yeah, really good. Yeah,
Greg, not as much
nerd leg. Greg, no hair. Greg. I gotta find something. There's gonna be a common ground we can find. Chad will probably come into. Yeah, what did I just come into? Blake, same thing. It is wild what's going on. Greg is in childhood bedroom with a childhood haircut
as well. In my childhood bedroom once again, because staying away from my family at my house because everybody at my house has COVID. My parents are on vacation, so I went and stayed at their house. But we've got a basketball slate to talk about as well, and news already because Bradley Beal has been ruled out. If you guys have not done it yet, for my ego, for my own, just to make me feel better about myself, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by No House Advantage today. We're talking about them more as we go. If you guys haven't signed up in NHA yet, though, you'll get up to $100 bonus when you sign up using the link that we have below. And they also have props against the house so you could play there. We've got lots of good tools to help you find the best props at NHA over at Stokastic.com. Eric and I are going to be covering that a little bit in the post-lock show. But news already. Bradley Beal has been ruled out. What are we doing with this, Eric?
Oh, first of all, yesterday, I bet Cleveland, it was -2.5, and it dropped to 1. And I felt really gross and disgusting that in some way, shape, or form that I missed the boat. The line shifted down. I almost played it again here. I put it on my premium betting card here for today, -1. Good if you could come in a little bit later. But now with Bradley Beal out, I feel a lot better about my situation. But he went through morning shoot around and it dropped the line a couple points. You're going to see that thing shoot up too. So again, you want to make some of these bets early when you can. I thought I was going to get burned by it, but we'll talk about it from a DFS perspective. I think that it just makes sense that we're going to be getting exposure to a lot of these pieces now. You're going to get a different starting lineup. No Bradley Beal there. The usage has been trending up. The minutes haven't really trailed up, but 34 is last time out. The usage starting to show up. We're just going to see Porzingis jump up for me, 9,600. We're going to get whoever that starting guard is, whether it ends up being just like, I don't know. I guess Kispert isn't exactly the most appealing dude ever, but he did play 37 minutes last game. Daniel Gafford was the center that I already like. There's a lot of centers that I like for tournament purposes today. He's yet another one of them. And then our old friend Denny Avdia, up to 5,500, was kind of unplayable at that number, but played 34 minutes. He's been coming off the bench. I just like him a lot. So I know that it's kind of a weird $5,500 number for him here. Not a great matchup against Cleveland for any of these guys, but you're going to be looking at backcourt minutes available and usage available to the main guys.
Yeah, and then Monty Morris played 33 minutes last game. He's somebody else that I think would see a little bit of a boost. Yeah, a lot of guys, but because this is a team that, like, I was getting a little bit of Gafford before, which it seems like you were as well.
Yep.
It's not like there's one guy. Porzingis benefits the most, but it's not like there's one guy that sees, a crazy increase. But I'm just going to go from not having interest in a lot of these guys. Now, like Porzingis is going to pop up in lineups. Yep. Danny Avdia is going to pop up in lineups, but none of them, I would say, become a guy that's like a core play for me. Now, would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. The nice thing, again, this is so weird to account for. Cleveland did just blow out whoever they played yesterday. I can't even remember, but I know for a fact that they didn't have to play as many minutes, but they're still on a back-to-back. It's still an opportunity where Washington, you're going to have pieces that are going to show up in lineups because Bradley Beal is a massive piece. Take 30 minutes of Bradley Beal, 32 minutes of Bradley Beal off the floor. There's just more to go around. So yeah, Porzingis, kind of the main guy. Weird that he's the guy that ends up popping for me more than just about anybody else there. Denny Avdia goes from unplayable to playable. Whoever we end up getting for that other guard ends up making some sense. You do have a random opportunity to maybe have a Kendrick Nunn show up and play 25 minutes. He's 3,200, but we have enough other value that's in that range that just looks way, way better that I don't think we need to take that shot.
I think I might, in large field tournaments, I think I might take some shots on Kendrick Nunn. As
really,
yeah,
he's the one guy I'm struggling with right now, just because of how much better some of the Dallas pieces look.
DraftKings specific, right?
Yes,
FanDuel totally different. DraftKings specific though, a $3,200 Kendrick Nunn. It's something that I like you said, the Dallas pieces are going to look better, but Kendrick Nunn is somebody who, when I rerun lineups, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up popping up in like 5% or something like that.
Yeah, it's a piece of news that matters.
Let's start hitting on some of your guys' super chats because your questions matter to us too. And also, if you guys have any questions for us in Discord, at me, and we could start talking about any questions, any thoughts that you guys have on your mind. We'll be hitting on all of that. Let me see, because I know that Jordan said we had an outstanding super chat that he DM'd to me, so I want to make sure that we answer that one first. And why are my DMs not loading? Here it is. Slack's being wonky. Here we go. All right. From Rabashua. Hello, boys. Adam. That's none of us. What percentage of your exposure each night is spent on long shot, high points per minute guys who could smash if they get in, knowing most of the time they won't pay off? So for all intents and purposes, Eric is going to be Adam for this question. By the way, something else. We have a new
don't want to be Adam.
We have a new producer, Jacob, or it could be Jakob. I haven't figured out if it's a soft J or not. He thought that Adam's name was Aaron, which I thought was hilarious. I was asking him who he's met from here and who he's worked with. And he was like, the guy with the red hair, Aaron. I was like, yeah, that's him.
Call him out. Honestly, yeah. I need Adam to get all of the shame. That's great.
So anyway, this question was directed towards Aaron, but you are going to have to answer Rabashua's question because Aaron is not here right now. What percentage of your exposure each night is spent on long shots? Like, how often are you going after guys who, don't have the highest floor in the world, but there's a ceiling?
It kind of depends. Everything is dependent on what the value looks like on a given slate. There are slates that I'm far more comfortable taking deep shots on guys or adding players to the back end of the player pool. It also just depends on how many lineups you're playing. I think that if you're playing an allotment of like 10 or 20, I'm far less likely to go off the reservation. Whereas if you're making 150, you're just to fill out 150 lineups with differentiating pieces, you're going to naturally get to some deeper cuts, if you will. The number 9 of the Beatles album. So just saying, we've got opportunities to find ways to get different just by adding more lineups to the fray. But yeah, I think that's kind of the main part of it. It's like I'll randomly, if there's a really, really good value, I will find ways to get that one differentiating piece more often. If it's a slate like this, where I think pretty concentrated chalk, just like Jaden Hardy, Jordan Poole's just a piece I'm not willing to live without today. And I'm kind of finding ways away from some of the other super chalky pieces. Jaden Hardy, makes a lot of sense to maybe get away from at 3,400. We do have Kendrick Nunn. We'll kind of see how that looks, but lots of ways that it works out for you, but it always is slate dependent.
Yeah. And it's always hard because people want, and by the way, I understand why you're asking the question, Rabashua, and he's in our Discord chat all the time and will DM me from time to time as well. I understand why people want a one size fits all answer for everything, but there really isn't one. It's not like there's one way that you could just play every single slate the exact same. If there's some magical formula, it would be cool if there was. Like, I wish there was an algorithm I could just run where it's like, hey, based on my projections, this is the optimal way to build my lineups every time. But there's going to be different factors too, like stuff like Eric and I talk about all the time is if players are on the injury report, how much lineup spots do you want to reserve for later on the slate? And that in itself is something I consider to be a high risk, high reward play.
Also, think about like what your goal is when you're playing certain types of DFS tournaments. Like in 3 max stuff, you probably want to be cashing a little bit more often and you're not going to be going to some of those deep cuts. Like when you're playing 150, if you're playing even like 20 max, which congratulations, you won the 20 max $3 I saw on Saturday. So that was good stuff. Hopefully you can buy a new haircut with that, but very much
Probably not.
Probably not, because there's no hair to cut. But either way, when you're like playing a 20 max setting, you get in these scenarios where you're going to lose more often than you win. But the goal is to make sure that like the 5% of the time, 10% of the time that you end up making profit, you're getting up there with a top 0.1%, top 1% type lineup, giving yourself opportunities to bink and letting variance kind of take care of the rest for you there. But make good lineups. Long term, you're going to be better off. How about that for analysis?
And by the way, a lot of very funny comments. I'm being called the homeless Justin Timberlake and things along those lines. I dig it.
I'm old Greg. Pleased to meet you.
Keep those shots coming.
I mean, also, Jordan Klein keeps flashing. What is that? Is that Joe Dirt? Are we doing Joe Dirt? Oh, shit. Lucky you go.
Nice. I look like Britney Spears now.
Well, you are lucky. You're a star, but you cry with your lonely heart, thinking if there's nothing missing in your life, then why do these tears come at night?
That's true. I could also just, I could be like a chia pet. Could I just glue one of those things to my head and water it and the hair will just sprout back out?
That too. Yes.
We could consider doing that. Hippopotamus, what are we supposed to do now if you play one lineup? One lineup, please. Everybody knows that the max lineup restrictions have been changed for myself. All the Dallas, Warriors, Nets, and now Washington. I'm overwhelmed, and it takes a lot to overwhelm a hippo, bro. So what is he supposed to do? So I could tell you right now, because I just reran lineups for some of the Washington stuff. In terms of teams that I get the most exposure to, Washington isn't quite in line with those other teams.
Correct.
Right there, I like getting to Gafford's my favorite play from the team. I think Denny makes a little bit more sense, but then some of the other guys on the team, like Porzingis, is just a viable pay up option now. Kendrick Nunn is somebody who I got none of to somebody who's just going to be in a couple lineups. I wouldn't say anything from there is like an actual priority now. So
no,
I don't
it
think
went from a team that I had none of that I just have a little bit of now. That's the best way to explain it. But it was the most recent news. And sometimes it seems like we're emphasizing something very, very heavily, but we're just kind of talking through the motions with you. Porzingis is the guy, though, that made the biggest jump. I went from having 0% to 7%. So there you go.
And then to answer the other part of his question, I think we could go through this way. Warriors, Nets, Warriors, Nets, Dallas. How about we do it this way for our friend the Hippo? Who is your most exposed player from each of these teams? We've already answered what it is for Washington. For Dallas, for me, that is Jaden Hardy.
But I will say I am lower on Dallas in general outside of Christian Wood. I'm way over on Wood.
Hardy is the player I get the most of from Dallas. From the Warriors, it's Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is my most rostered player on the entire slate. I find him very difficult to get away from.
Yep. I have nearly 90% of him.
So Jordan Poole. And then from the Nets, my most exposed player is one of Eric's favorite guys, Edmund Sumner.
Oh, let's go, my dude. Oh, that worked out. That was a fun day. Those are fun days.
I have to say, the team that gives me the most fear of the chalky teams is the Nets, because we've seen them run really fucked up rotations in these scenarios before.
But they're shorthanded. Like, the thing with Dallas that makes it difficult is they're adding Christian Wood, who the range of minutes is like, it was a thumb injury, okay? He could play 25, he could play 35, and I don't know. It'd be a little weird to play 35, I suppose. I would say I don't know. He could. It's just, it's not like he's missed out on cardio day in the last 2 weeks since he's been out. So Christian Wood, I just want to be over on 23.4%. I'm kind of shocked that against Utah, it's not higher. I wish I had bet him for a double-double. That would have been great too. Maybe I'll take a look at that here as we're going. But before it was going to be Tim Hardaway Jr., and now I don't want any of him. I don't want any of Josh Green. I think Jaden Hardy is cheap, but if he doesn't start, that's problematic. And I don't know really what to make of the minutes. We've got him projected for 27 at Stokastic, but I think Reggie Bullock is probably more inclined to be starting here now with Wood there as well. So I don't know. It feels really, really wonky for me to play like a 33% Jaden Hardy, a 40% owned Jaden Harvey here. We'll see as the night goes on, but I think I'd rather just get into the mid-range and just kind of have the Nets on the cheap end. Like, I'd rather get to other guard spots that aren't Hardy. He's shooting guard only. You can only play him in 3 spots on DK. I think I'm more inclined to play more Cameron Thomas, Edmund Sumner for sure from the Brooklyn side for 4,500 and 5K than I am going to the basement with him. So, yeah, especially now that Tatum is a little bit more appealing of an option. I don't have to play as much Giannis as what I was anticipating. Probably going to be finding more paths away from Dallas pieces that aren't named Christian Wood.
Shout out to J Bravo 99. I assume that is the Johnny Bravo. He gifted out 20 Stokastic YouTube membership. So we appreciate you, Mr. Johnny Bravo 99. But getting back to the Nets, which players outside of Sumner and Cam Thomas and a little bit of, well, let's just say, because you said you like the cheap guys, outside of Cam Thomas and Edmund Sumner, who are the other cheap guys from the Nets that you like getting to them?
Whoever starts. So I think that's probably the right way to say it. Like TJ Warren's 4,600. And if you think he's going to revert to bubble TJ Warren coming off of, he hasn't played since the 26th. You got another thing coming. You're not playing a 4,600 TJ Warren on this slate. So just get that out of your head. I saw his name come up in chat a little bit earlier. Kind of a weird spot here. I thought I would be getting to more, but I think there's just enough pieces, whether it's Watanabe, Patrick Mills, Joe Harris, and I'm sure there's probably somebody who plays a lot more minutes than what we expect coming off the bench, but there's just enough guys where I think it's pretty diluted. I got to imagine the Nets aren't done. We have Thursday coming up, trade deadline. I can't imagine that they're done moving around pieces. And, maybe Dinwiddie suits up for Brooklyn. It sounds like before the show, there was talk that Toronto was trying to get him or something was trying to take place to get a third team involved to make that trade more palatable for Brooklyn. But didn't end up happening. And now they're going to have Spencer Dinwiddie until he's there. Seems like there should be something to get to, but Joe Harris and Day'Ron Sharpe like TJ Warren, they're too expensive. They're not super cheap pieces of value. And it's just enough bodies that I don't want to take those shots.
Yeah, but by the way, that is what I meant about the Nets before, where it's like because I feel like there should be more value here. And I think there are going to be guys that play well, but outside of Edmund Sumner being my favorite option from the team, and then Cam Thomas, who went absolutely apeshit in their last game, it's hard for me to confidently say that some other Nets guy is the guy to get to. That's really more what I was referring to.
I'm with you then. We are on the same page there. We've generally kind of been on the same page at analyzing some of these value situations. There's just no value to mine out of here when you have 9-10 bodies that there's other spots like both of it, like Dallas because of Christian Wood's existence, and then Brooklyn, just enough pieces that I don't want to try to make something out of nothing.
We've got some more questions that are coming into our Discord channel right now. Actually, a whole bunch of questions that are in Discord at the moment. So this one first is from Lippy. What are our thoughts on Peyton Pritchard today? I like Pritchard. Number one, it's a good matchup against the Detroit Pistons. He's extremely cheap, and Boston is dealing with guys being out. So I think that Peyton Pritchard, as far as cheap guys go, is the best pivot off of Hardy.
Interesting. He's pulling a little bit more ownership now at 13% that I would want. I mean, it's not a lot compared to what we're looking at with Cam Thomas with some of these other chalkier pieces for sure. Like it's pretty reduced off of that, but I think he's all right to get to. The nice thing is that he's blowout run. Like he's your dude. If this game gets wonky, it was all the way up to 11. Then it moved all of a point to account for Jaylen Brown being out here now. Pretty wild. Peyton Pritchard's probably doing cleanup duty, aisle 7. So that'd be fun to get to a little bit of that. I don't think I'm going to put a rule in place to get him independent of like Tatum or some of the other starters, but I do think it's still pretty thin. I'm just not in love with anything sub 4K today, and it seems like the field is. I'm probably just going to be making a lot of my tournament stands today. I'm only playing 40 lineups, so not playing a ton of lineups today. I've got a dinner thing to go to way later tonight, but I feel as though I'm going to find paths off of all of them.
And then we've got a follow-up from Lippy where he said, is it a problem to play Pritchard and Hardy in the same lineup? No, I think you could definitely play Hardy and Pritchard in the same lineup.
Totally. And what's going to happen is that they're going to look very similar to other Hardy and Pritchard lineups. They're going to have Giannis. They're going to have Tatum. They're going to have Damian Lillard. Like I think that's kind of my fear, is that like I'm going to be doing the same thing as everybody else that you would do on days where there's unlimited value. But if I can have some of that value fail and I can find one pivot away off of some of these studs, I think I'm in a better spot in large field tournaments on a day like today. Am I going to lose probably more because of it? Sure. But the days it works out for me, I'm going to get rewarded for it more often. So Poole, he's a constant. He's just showing up in everything for me. He's the most popular play on the slate, and I think for good reason. I'm happy to eat that for chalk. And then I'm just going to be getting away from the cheapies.
So what is the, if this makes sense, who is the cheapest player you have the most exposure to? Like,
well, it would be Hardy right now, but I only have 16%.
Yeah,
I'm as I'm running this, I'm probably going to get to less. And here's the thing, it can change. Everything is dependent on, who starts for both of these teams, Brooklyn and Dallas. We can make assumptions. I don't think we know exactly who's starting for both teams, correct?
No, I mean, I think that it would be hard to know for sure who's so
expect to be swapping onto as much of whoever starts as possible.
I do think Hardy is going to start, though.
Okay. If he does, then my opinion changes. But as of right now, I do not have him start.
Yeah. So I think it is going to be Hardy, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood, and Dwight Powell.
I think Frankie Smoke starts if he plays.
He's questionable, though.
If he plays. I'm just saying.
Could be.
Reggie
that team
Bullock.
is either way. That
team suck.
Team is not looking the prettiest. It'll look better in a couple weeks on paper. As of right now, not all that great. The next question we have in our Discord channel comes from here we go. Mincash Merchant. You going max 4 on any teams today with all of the value?
No.
So I didn't set any rules, but just by running lineups, I didn't get any lineups with more than 3 players in any one lineup. Not because of any rules I set.
Yeah, I didn't set a rule, and I didn't just look at the whatever team stacks thing on Cruncher. I'm looking at it. I have 0 teams with 4 players from it.
Yeah, I have some lineups with 3 Celtics. I have lineups with 3 Warriors, but no teams with 4 in there. So I wouldn't recommend going more than 3 on DK today. The next question we have is from Just Locks. Most exposure at shooting guard and small forward on FanDuel. So in the lineups I ran, Tim Hardaway Jr. was the shooting guard and the small forward I got the most of. He's eligibility at both positions. He's $5,200 on FanDuel. He's somebody we know is going to be playing big minutes and is going to soak up usage with all the players out. No Kyrie yet. Luka's out. Dinwiddie, he's no longer in the picture. So Tim Hardaway Jr., the shooting guard / small forward, I got to the most on FanDuel. Eric, if you look at the landscape on FanDuel, even if you weren't playing there, or even if you haven't built out lineups there, who do you think would be your most rostered shooting guard / small forward?
Yeah, I started building out lineups over there because I was told that Denny Avdija was like 6,400 over there. And I was just like, oh, I got to look at this. Like 6,500 he is over on FanDuel. So I thought that was pretty, I would not be playing him there. But yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr., drastically different play there. He's 5,200 FanDuel. That makes sense. I ran it now. DeMar DeRozan would be number 1 for me still if you put him in that category. Same eligibility as Tim Hardaway Jr., shooting guard, small forward, 8,400. A lot different between the sites. That's why you want to play multiple sites. Tonight, I'm only playing DraftKings. I've kind of been playing DraftKings mainly all season long now at this point, but more of a time management thing, and also just being on these shows and trying to be respectful to the people and give them the great advice. So FanDuel, looking at it, DeMar DeRozan 1, Tim Hardaway Jr. 2, and Josh Hart was 3.
Steven Eckelman has left us a super chat. Hey guys, best small forward under $9,900 on DK. Not loving Kawhi. Should I try and cut money elsewhere? But that word cut just triggers me right now. Let's stay away from saying that. And reach for Tatum at 11K.
Nuke.
Oh my God. And at the end, he says haircut looks good. Or looks great, Greg. Well, I might disagree with your opinion on that. But should I try and save money elsewhere? We're not going to use the C word. Should I save money elsewhere and reach for Tatum at 11K or somebody 9,900 or under to play? Let's look at the options.
I got to reread that question that got broken up.
Yeah, so the problem is this. The only small forward who you're playing at under 9,900 if you have that salary is Kawhi. And I don't really like Kawhi all that much.
Yeah.
So I prefer to find the salary savings to get up to Tatum.
Kawhi's fine if you're playing the largest of large field tournaments, but it seems as though, if you're making multiple lineup sweep, but when you're asking like a 1v1, I'm assuming this is something that matters. I would find a way to get to Tatum at 11K. I would find a way. Also, I like Paul George for tournament purposes. I mean, you're saving a little bit of money off of it, $800 difference. And I mean, a sub 9K Paul George, I mean, it's on the road in Brooklyn. I am surprised by the spread. It's moved now to 8, opened at 6 yesterday, just insanity. But Paul George, probably another one of the culprits if this game does blow out, where more than likely it's Kawhi and Paul George that do most of the damage there. And I do think we're going to get some pretty big games from both of them coming down the stretch. Clippers have played a lot better of late, starting to string a lot of wins together. If they can get a piece at the deadline, going to be interesting. But those two guys are pretty locked in. I would find a way out of the Kawhi range, though.
The next super chat that we have is from my filler arc. Weird timeline where I have to ask this, but Denny or Chris Middleton tonight? Even weird timeline that my answer is confidently Denny Avdia, but there just isn't enough minutes. There aren't enough minutes for Middleton. Eventually, he's going to have a slate where he comes out and we see him play a closer to full allotment of minutes. He played 21 last game. That's the most he's played since coming back. They've been so cautious bringing his minutes up. I just can't expect him to play much more than 20 minutes, which makes him somebody that isn't a good DFS option.
He's been so good in limited minutes, though. It's been pretty insane. The effective field goal percentage has been horrendous still on the entire season, but coming off the bench, just chucking. So that's fun. He's just not even in play for me today. I heard something on the previous show as I was kind of doing other stuff where they brought him up. That was a little weird to me. I looked into it. I'm going to have 0% Middleton. There's just no way that he's playable for me today. We'll definitely say Denny Avdia.
Middleton, would have to be like a 1.8 fantasy point per minute guy, I think, to be viable tonight.
Yeah, 5,400. Like, you can look at the box score all you want, but here's the thing. There are going to be a lot of guys that go for 35 plus tonight. Middleton has done that all of once for you. And like, that's like your 7X people at the 7X threshold, 6X, like whatever, who cares? I just know that there's going to be a lot of guys far more likely to go for 35 plus that are more expensive and cheaper than him because of what those minutes are. Until we see 24, 26, even 28 minutes of this kind of a tag, no way I'm going to play him.
The next question we have, well, not really a question. This is actually more of a statement from Corey Shea. He's saying that RotoWire is projecting McKinley Wright to start for Dallas. Yeah, it could be. We've never seen this scenario before. I think it's very hard to confidently say what the starting five is for Dallas. We know that Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to start. Christian Wood stands to reason that he's going to be in the starting lineup unless there's kind of minutes restriction. We know that Powell is going to start, but anybody who tells you that they know 100% sure what the starting five is going to be, it's not true. We just have to see what the starting lineup is. I'm just guessing that I think Hardy's going to end up starting. I don't know though.
Again, he hasn't started a game all season. I do not think Hardy starts. I was planning on being a lot lower on him, I think, than the field. Can he be good? I mean, he's a 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy. I assume a lot better with no Spencer Dinwiddie, no Luka Doncic, but Christian Wood being there creates like an X factor, a chasm, if you will. And the ownership doesn't seem like it's coming down as a result of it. I think in my iteration of the starting lineup, I do not have Hardy, but if you have him starting 3,400, you'd want more than 31% of him. Like, I would want more than 31% of him, but I'm not going to game plan it because I do not think he's going to start.
Who do you think starts if Ntilikina doesn't play?
So if Ntilikina doesn't play, then I've got to probably find my way on to some of him, but I promise you, Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock, Josh Green, Christian Wood, Dwight Powell. That would be the five I would guess in any capacity, even maybe independent of Frankie Smokes. Now, Josh Green would probably come off the bench in that iteration where I think Frank Ntilikina starts. I just don't have Hardy start. He hasn't started a game all season long, whereas like we've at least seen the odd starts for Frank Ntilikina. Jason Kidd hasn't mixed it up in some drastic way this season that's made me think. And yeah, Luke has been out at some time, so we've seen some iterations of this throughout the season. So yeah, I just think the field's way too high on him right now.
Which is, I mean, we'll see what the starting lineup looks like. Like we've been talking about, we'll see what it looks like later in the day, and then we can make some changes based on how that looks. And there are still some players that we need to make some adjustments on as we get more news like this. New starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons. The new lineup, same as the old lineup. Isaiah Stewart heading back to the bench. The starting five is Jaden Ivey, Alec Burks, Sadiq Bey, your guy Bojan Bogdanovic, and Jalen Duren. Sadiq Bey in the starting lineup.
Where did they just switched it? Updated lineup. Stewart's starting now.
Oh, Stewart is starting now. All right. Yep. Well, I just saw that lineup came in, and the one that came in at first didn't have him in it.
Yep, you're correct. And then the updated one did.
Okay.
As my password on my credit card. Somebody just tried to log into my American Express. Great.
Why do they want access to $7.30?
I don't know. Some people, oh God, do I have to call? I can't call a credit card company while I'm on a show.
It would be very mediocre content to consider.
I can't imagine that would be great for the people. Put them on hold with American Express as we're sitting here. All right, I got it blocked. Made sure that everything's logged out there. Did not expect to do that on a show today.
By the way, do you care that the Celtics are starting Sam Hauser tonight?
What?
I said, do you care that the Celtics are starting Sam Hauser tonight?
Oh, son of a bitch. Why? Why are they doing this?
That's
I mean, it's got to be 3K, so I probably care in some capacity. Who's not starting? What is that starting lineup?
So the starting lineup for
Obvious starting, so that's fun.
Yeah, so let's hit on a couple starting lineups that we have right here. We got Derek White, Sam Hauser, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Robert Williams is the starting lineup for Boston. The starting lineup for the by the way, De'Aaron Fox is officially in. He was doubtful earlier in the day, but
it's personal issue. It's like, are you in the building or aren't you?
So the Wizards starting lineup that just came out is Morris, Kispert, Avdia, Porzingis, and Gafford. I like Avdia quite a bit.
I like Avdia a lot. 5,500, completely different complexion. Here's the thing, though. Can he possibly play more minutes than like the 34 that we saw last time out against Brooklyn off the bench? I mean, if you start... We already have him in at 32 minutes, and I was getting to him in lineups. I had 5% of him. I'm going to get a lot more than 5% of him if I go up 2 minutes, 4 minutes from that. So it's a game that has a close spread. I have no reason to believe that I shouldn't be playing a starting Denny Avdia here, especially with that news 17 minutes before lock. I think as you go up in entry fees, he'll be more owned there. He's not a must play considering he's 5,500. The tag has come up, but like, he's a really good play on today's slate.
We're at 14 throughout the 7 p.m. games and wait, not today.
Nope.
Can't do it today.
Nope. You should have Tatum. You should have Pritchard. You should have Porzingis. You should have Avdia. You should have... do I have any Detroit? I have no Detroit, but I have 2 shares of Bojan. It's like sacrificial. And then Cleveland, there's decent pieces to get to. Garland, Mitchell, Mobley. Like, they're all showing up in lineups.
I was unfortunately this is what's annoying when those starting lineup changes happen, is because you see something happen, you start to adjust for it, and then you have to change it back. I was going to have Sadiq Bey, but not anymore after.
Yeah, I'm glad I caught that. That was kind of a weird thing because I don't know if people know. I got Twitter back. Back.
Oh, look at you. And the world is a worse place for it, but we're happy.
Thanks.
Happy you're back in the mix.
I missed you too. Go shave your head.
There are times where you could forego the early games, not when there's this much value. Because what you'd be doing is passing on value for maybe value later. It's too much in the early games to pass up. Like Bradley Beal is out for the Wizards. We've got the Celtics don't have Jaylen Brown, right? There's the Celtics, by the way, don't have Jaylen Brown and they don't have Marcus Smart. So
three of Denny Avdia's last 4 starts too, by the way, 36, 37, and 35 minutes. So yeah, we should play Denny. He's also had a 27% usage the last 2 games. These are the things that I miss when I'm gone. Unreal.
Yep. Denny's played really well ever since the trade of Rui Hachimura. So Denny is somebody who I would not forego in the early games at all.
Do you Hafta roster? Haftia? No, that didn't work. That was bad.
I don't even know what you're trying to do. Well,
that's bad. I'm embarrassed for myself and my family. I apologize to them. I'll have a written statement within the hour.
If you're looking for a new job, I know a place that could use somebody who cuts hair. Corey Shea, Fox or SGA based on value?
Fox or
so
SGA?
Just points per dollar? That's Fox for me. SGA is super expensive. If he's just asking points per dollar, who's the better player?
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's what I'm getting at. Points per dollar, Fox, straight up, obviously SGA.
All right, rerun lineups for the Wizards starting lineup.
SGA 10-7. I'm actually over the field on SGA for what it's worth. 7. A lot of 7%ers. A lot of these guys I'm just rotating between.
Ace of Spade, Wood, George, Markkanen, or DeRozan for DK tiers. All right, so
I love Christian Wood so much today. It's unbelievable.
All right. Eric has proclaimed his love for Wood.
I love Wood.
Markkanen, DeRozan, Wood.
Could get Oak. You could get Pine. You could get I don't know. Those are nice.
I like DeMar DeRozan the most of all those players. All of them, by the way, project fairly similarly. I just have DeRozan the highest of all those players by a little bit.
Yeah. You're playing both sites today, right?
No, just DraftKings. This is a really hard slate to play, both of them.
Yeah, I agree. DeMar DeRozan on FanDuel would be the dude. He's 8,800 on DK. He has got a slightly positive leverage to be looking at in the boom bust tool. We'll throw that out there.
Are we caught up on the super chat? So one more. Riley Cooper, Sumner, or Bro? I prefer Sumner to Brome tonight.
I didn't hear you at all. There's my phone's blowing up. I don't know what's going on.
Your answer is going to be Edmund Sumner anyway.
Yeah, it is. If there's a 2v2, Sumner is definitely the answer.
Is that Duke going nuts in the back?
Oh yeah, he's going nuts. He's excited too. I've got credit card fraud occurring. I've got my dog freaking out. Our pets' heads are falling off.
There we go. Hopefully not. That I hope that's not why he's barking. The next super chat. Well, also, how would you even bark in that scenario? The next super chat. Oh, never mind. We just got a bunch of channels in Discord. Or actually, a bunch of them showed up in my notifications anyway. So let's try to get through a bunch of
these. Speed round.
Playing Clay, Poole, and Wiggins together in DK single entry unnecessary. Yes, I think it's unnecessary to play all three. Playing Poole is necessary. Playing all three in the same lineup is not.
It's not so necessary, but it is necessary to do different things. And I don't completely hate it. They're all in the same game environment. They all project out well. But I can guarantee you in single entry, don't do it.
DA24. At Ehrenberg Greg looks like his favorite all-time basketball player, Jason White Chocolate Williams. I'm trying to remember what Jason Williams looked like. Remember Jay Williams? He shot his limo driver. Ernie P. You look skinnier than normal without the afro. Respectfully, I'm generally fairly skinny.
Yeah, the slender of frame would be the right way of saying it. That is correct.
It made me stupider. My head's smaller. Any love for Watford today with a questionable tag and Eubanks and Nurkic out?
Only if you end up, no. Box score watchers, man, I tell you what, they're everywhere. They're amongst us. We got to be careful. Don't do it.
And I just realized that I said, for whatever reason, I've fucked up Watford's name. It's Trendon Watford. I said Christian Watford.
It's okay. It's not your day.
Christian Watford.
It's not your day.
Brother, my brother went to IU and he's a big fan of Christian Watford. But anyway, Trendon Watford. Eubanks is not questionable. Eubanks is probable.
Eubanks is probable. That's I have 7%. Why do I have 7% of so many dudes today? This is absurd. Oh no, that's not right.
Couldn't tell you.
I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm on the helpline trying to make sure that nobody is accessing my American Express Delta card. That would be bad.
I hope they steal your... No, who would steal... Who? Nobody's going to steal your identity. I can't imagine somebody would voluntarily want to be you. So you're safe. Nobody wants to be you. Your identity's not being stolen.
You look like a cast out member of Backstreet Boys and you're giving me shit. Please stop.
I wish I looked like a cast out member of Backstreet Boys. I look like whatever those other bands. I look like the bands that tried to copy the Backstreet Boys.
9. What was the other one? There were a couple. New Kids on the Block had a bunch of hits.
Yeah, but they were popular. I'm talking about the not popular ones. Miami High Life. Favorite Warriors besides Poole for DK GPP. So in order of my exposure to Warriors, I have Poole 1, I have Clay 2, I have Wiggins 3, and Draymond 4. How about yourself, Eric?
Power forwards, you said?
No. You wanted to know which Warriors.
Which Warriors? I thought you said power forwards, and then nothing you said after that made sense. Jordan Poole by a landslide, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins.
The next question here is Denny or Josh Richardson on DK?
Denny. I have a lot of Denny off today.
Ernie P wants to know the top 3 most rostered players we have at each position. Let me export these lineups.
I don't have a ton. 24% of Denny. That's a good number. It's a good number. It's good.
Ernie wants to know the top 3 players we have the most exposure to at each position. Eric, starting at point guard. The top 3. Rattle them off.
All right. Well, the chat is just making me laugh. It's too good. Jordan Poole, Cameron Thomas, Edmund Sumner.
We've got for myself, Jordan Poole, Edmund Sumner, and Cameron Thomas. I think it's the same as you, but in a different order. I said them.
Correct. Yep.
Shooting guard is Jordan Poole, Jaden Hardy, and Klay Thompson for me.
Yeah, Jordan Poole, Cameron Thomas, Josh Giddey, getting giddy with it. No.
Small forward, Denny Avdia, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins. And by the way, I've Tatum extremely. Thompson, Wiggins, and Klay, they're all very close to me.
Yeah, Wiggins, Denny, and DeMar is actually showing up. But small forward, I am so spread out. Like I only have 15% there of DeMar.
Power forward for me is Giannis, Denny, and Wiggins.
Wood by a mile. Avdia then showing up there, and Wiggins.
Center, I can't just because the way it's set up.
Do you want to turn me down?
I'll just.
Do you want to dim my light,
how about
Jordan?
If I just talk louder. I'll just talk a little bit louder. All right, that's what I'll do then. I'll talk louder for you, Jordan Klein. I don't know my right levels. I'm trying to get the levels right. I don't know.
I cannot control the volume of my voice.
Were they able to hear you talking to me, Jordan? Because if not, this is going to be very confusing. All right. Jordan asked me to move the mic closer to my mouth, but just because of the way the desk is set up in my childhood bedroom, I can't do that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit louder right now. Center for me, Giannis, Robert Williams, and Daniel Gafford. And Christian Wood is not far behind.
It's Christian Wood, and then there's really not even a debate about anybody else. Yeah, Denny Avdia sitting there in Wiggins, power forward. Center, Wood, Giannis, and Jared Allen. Hello.
Any concerns about Christian Wood's minutes coming back from a long layoff?
No.
Right, that was an emphatic no.
No, I think he plays more than 30 without a doubt, if it's competitive.
The next question we have is from Jets World. Hauser or Stanley Johnson on DK? I mean, neither, ideally.
Stanley Johnson's, I have 0 of him, and I know he is pulling ownership. He's just another one of those dudes on the cheap end I just don't want him.
It's neither for, like, if I have to pick one, I guess Hauser, but it's neither.
What are you doing with Kelly Olynyk at 4,100 now on DK?
I like Kelly Olynyk at 4,100.
He played 30 minutes last game, and I feel like I'm shocked he is only 12%.
I'm overweight to Kelly Olynyk.
I should get more. He was falling into that mid-range category for me, and I'm just finding ways to get away from the 3K. Like the 3K range outside of like a little bit of Kuminga, a little bit of Hardy, just in the event that he does start and just ruins my night. I'm going to try to get to as much as possible. But like Sam Hauser, I do not want to play Sam Hauser. I just don't. So yeah, I'm just getting away from all of these cheapies that I think are really, really thin pieces of chalk.
Big Boy IE wants to know, please go position by position or your must play. We just kind of did go.
Cool point guard, shooting guard, must play. Cameron Thomas, must play. Edmund Sumner, must play. There you go. Those are the guards. Denny Avdia, we talked about. Aaron Wiggins, there's no other must play.
Andrew Wiggins,
small forward. Yeah, that dude.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
I'm just saying it matters if you say Andrew or Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron Wiggins do not play. Christian Wood is a must play for me at power forward, and then center, you can play him there as well. That kind of does it for me.
I don't have an issue with any of that. And let's see, other
also 5 minutes.
We got from Sergio Vega, Hardaway, or Wiggins. I have more exposure to Wiggins today. Both are good options, though.
Yeah. Yeah, Wiggins.
Corey Shea, thoughts on Jalen Green tonight? There's just a lot of guys I prefer that are priced around him. I currently have 5% of Jalen Green, but other players, like I get more of Malcolm Brogdon, who's in the same neighborhood of his price. I get more of Klay Thompson. I get more of Jordan Poole if you're spending up. Zach LaVine, if you also want to go a little bit more expensive than that. So Jalen Green to me is, I mean, he's only projected for 7% ownership, and I'm a little bit underweight to him.
Yeah. Also, can I talk about one play that I just have to throw out there, who I think is probably the best tournament play at center?
We have a bunch of questions.
Oh yeah, super quick. Zach Collins. You should play a ton of Zach Collins tonight. Jakob Poeltl's up to 5,900, but the main thing is Thursday's coming up. Trade deadline. I do not expect Jakob Poeltl to be wearing a Spurs uniform. He played 24 minutes in that start against Philly. He did not have foul issues. 3 personal fouls, only played 24. He's played 22 and 24 in 2 of his last 3 games. They keep losing basketball games. That's the goal for the Spurs. Zach Collins is now down to 4,300. You should play a lot of him in tournaments.
Some more questions to get to here. Opposite Exo wants to know who our favorite pay up is on DK. I get to Giannis the most of any expensive option.
Christian Wood, if you're going to call over 8K expensive. As far as the studs go, I have a little bit more Tatum because he has small forward eligibility.
Yeah, the 2 I have the most of is Giannis and Tatum. Giannis is number 1 for me, though.
Cool. He's Giannis.
XX Cubs fan 23XX, Tatum and Sumner or DeMar and Clay on FanDuel. I prefer DeMar and Clay for FanDuel purposes.
DeMar and Clay. Yeah, I was starting to get to a lot more DeMar than I expected on DK even.
Lippy getting 100% of Hauser. Please help me.
Don't do it.
Rehab? Is there Sam Hauser rehab?
Stop. Get help.
Yeah, I don't even know how to help people that are playing 100% of Sam Hauser, other than people could sign up for our tools, which will tell you not to play 100% of Sam Hauser. And when you sign up for the first time, you get 50% off on any package when you use the link we have below. Other than that, I don't know how to help people. I mean, 100% Sam Hauser, that's a travesty. Don't play.
I do not have
Sam
Peyton
Hauser.
Pritchard anymore, too, by the way. I was talking about him earlier. I don't have any.
Yeah, but don't play 100% Sam Hauser. And if you guys haven't checked out all the tools and content we have over at Stokastic.com, sign up using the link below. You get access to our lineup generator, just going to help you by building plus EV lineups for you. And we got stuff in there that it's going to change right up until lock. We got a lot of different cool settings in there where you could choose how you want your lineup construction to look. And from there, you build up to 20 lineups and you upload them directly to DraftKings or FanDuel. It's less than $10. And when you sign up for the first time, you are going to get 50% off. But also that 50% off coupon, it is viable for any package we have over at Stokastic.com. So take advantage of it and sign up using the link that we have below. Chad Weissman wants to know favorite center on FanDuel. Thanks and appreciate it. Over at FanDuel, Christian Wood is the center I got the most exposure to.
Christian Wood, love it.
And then another one is, what do we think about TJ Warren? Another super chat there from Big Boy. TJ Warren,
0%.
It's hard for me to project him to play a lot of minutes.
Don't play him. That's my answer.
Like if he plays a whole bunch, then yeah, there's a lot of ceiling. So we don't have the Nets starting lineup yet, right? Let me just double check to make sure.
Yeah, until if he starts, sweet. But I don't think
him. I do not expect him to start. If he starts, he would look really good. I'm just not expecting that to be the case.
He wouldn't even look really good. He'd just look good to me. I will say that. I don't expect that he would be able to play 24, 26 minutes right away. Like we haven't seen that forever.
Let me just make sure that we answered all of these, which I'm pretty sure that we did. Yep, we've got all of these answered. And Discord really quick. Let me see. Hopefully by the way, Discord is not working for me right now. I don't know why that's the case, but
seems bad.
Yeah, when I try to go on Discord, it just says connecting. Is that an issue with anybody else, or is this just a me problem?
I'm just pulling it. I'm pulling mine up here.
Yeah, if you could pull it up and it works for you, that would be
it's working.
Great.
Let's go. Premium NBA, premium basketball. Here we are. Let's see. Other people. Well, I guess they're all tagged for your name. Thoughts on Cam Thomas and the Nets? We like him. Thoughts on none? Getting 100% Hauser. Please help me. Thanks. Yeah, no, there's nothing new since then. Williams or Brogdon? Williams.
Robert Williams?
Yes.
Yes, I have more exposure to Time Lord Robert Williams.
Yeah, he was a great player. I wish I got more of him. I only got 15%.
So we are right now at lock. You guys shouldn't go anywhere, though, because this is a slate where we are really going to have a lot of news that coming in the next 30 minutes that should help you. So for one, we don't know the Brooklyn Nets starting lineup. I have a pretty good guess of what the Nets starting lineup is going to be. I think it's going to be Sumner, Thomas, Harris, O'Neal, and Claxton. We don't know that for sure. And that's news that we're going to get in the next 30 minutes. We also have potential to get the starting lineup for the Dallas Mavericks, something else that's going to be really key. As for the players that are questionable, we've got a bunch of them as well. So don't go anywhere, guys. But if you are going to be leaving, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're also going to be looking through some of our favorite bets. Which piece of news are you waiting on, Eric, that you think is going to shape your slate the most?
Dallas starting lineup.
Keldon Johnson being questionable.
Oh, that too. Well. Yeah, that's a gigantic piece.
So
ask and you shall receive for the well, it's exactly what we expected from from the Nets. Sumner, Thomas, Harris, O'Neal, Claxton. That's 100% the lineup we expected.
I feel sharp. I just said that 30 seconds ago. That's what I
know. Well, I'm saying well done by you.
There we go.
That was mine too, for what it's worth.
Keldon Johnson being questionable. If he is ruled out, because there is potential that we wouldn't get this news until after the show ends. So I think it is a pretty good use of our time and the audience's time to talk about Keldon Johnson. We're going to talk about no house advantage in a little bit as well. If you guys haven't signed up, use the link below, get up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. But if Keldon Johnson is ruled out, the field, like you said before, it seems like the field is already kind of playing Stanley Johnson as if Keldon Johnson is going to be out. I do think Stanley Johnson would look clearly better if Keldon Johnson doesn't play, though.
Correct. If he plays, you want 0.
As for other players, and there's a bunch of guys that are out on the Spurs right now, which is also something that's creating some ownership here. So here are the players who are out for San Antonio at the moment. Trey Jones out, Romeo Langford out, Devin Vassell out, Jeremy Sochan out, and then, like I said, Keldon Johnson is questionable. As things stand right now, who are you getting to from the Spurs? I know you'd mentioned Zach Collins before, but that's not really going to depend, and I presume, on the absence of Keldon Johnson or not. But is there anything you currently like from the Spurs? And then what are you going to do if Keldon Johnson doesn't play?
Yeah, so I have a couple shares of Jakob Poeltl, but Zach Collins by far is my favorite guy to get to. Kenny Bates-Diop is now 4,600, but we've seen him play 32, 34 minutes in competitive games. That's just a guy who might show up in a lineup or two. People talked about Malachi Branham. That is 0% of my lineup, so you all have fun with that. But I promise you, this Spurs team is going to look different on Thursday than it does now. I'm starting to take some minutes off the top. I can't imagine Keldon Johnson. Why would you even push him to play in something where he had left ankle soreness? I'm not saying Keldon Johnson's on the table to get traded, but everybody on the Spurs is on the table to get traded. He's probably the best piece that they have outside of Devin Vassell. But anybody on this team could go bye-bye at any given moment. I think Jakob Poeltl is the most likely by far. And I think that just puts Zach Collins in a stratosphere where, like, if you flip-flop their minutes and you see a lion's share go to Collins for some reason, that'd be awesome, even though he just played 19 and 16 minutes the last two. That Philadelphia game did get out of hand for a little bit there. I expect him to play more than 20 minutes, and he's 4,300 now. That's the main thing. Just like a salary piece that I'm not playing a lot of the 3K pieces, so I need to find some other spots. He's by far my favorite play on the Spurs.
Okay. So, yeah, and once again, Keldon Johnson being ruled out, that would change some stuff, and I'd be interesting to see what the starting lineup is as well. I kind of do think Keldon Johnson more likely to play and just be like 28 to 30 minutes, something like that. Is that a reasonable expectation, Dio?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm saying that I don't know why. If I'm running the Spurs, I don't know why I would just roll out Keldon Johnson, especially like they're going to try to do some stuff, you would think, before Thursday. I keep thinking about it where it's just like maybe they just choose not to push him there, and then everybody on the Spurs would look all right. Josh Richardson, who is garnering 16% ownership from nowhere right now for me, would become somebody who's viable, but I would also expect that ownership to come up. He started last game, so if he starts again, that'd be a piece to definitely get to in lineups. But there isn't a single thing that I prioritize from the Spurs, even with no Vassell, no Trey Jones, no Sochan, and then possibly no Keldon Johnson. They still have guys like Blake Wesley, who played 18 minutes last game. Guys like Isaiah Roby, who can come off the bench, played 10 minutes last time. They're just one of those teams that, like, they'll go to the ends of their bench just to not have dudes play too many minutes.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the case for the rest of the season. It's going to be the case for a lot of these teams. Like, if we do a real quick look at the landscape of tanking teams, but which teams are going to have the most nonsensical rotations moving forward? Spurs are number one, I think.
Spurs are number one, you think?
In terms of
Spurs are clear-cut favorites to tank now at this point. Like, you should in every single way, shape, and form, because they are, you got to just shed as much of the salary as you've got and then set yourself up to maybe being a appealing destination for some star. If you get Wembanyama, like, there's a lot of things that still have to go right for them to be competitive or like remotely competitive next year. But like, I feel as though they're the most clear cut because OKC just got good. Like, that's the major caveat to the tanking landscape.
Yeah, I mean the Thunder have the best record against the spread of any team in the NBA. It's funny too, where people just presumed all year, oh, this team is going to tank. This team is going to tank. Meanwhile, they have a better record than the Lakers, and people are like, oh, the Lakers are going to flip Russell Westbrook into Kyrie Irving somehow, which was never realistic, but it was something that people just thought was going to happen for some reason. But
Jordan Klein, shut up.
What?
Mean jerk. Oh, the Spurs are tanking. No way. Oh, great. Why don't you come on and give the dude bro chill analysis? Give me your hard hitting Spurs takes.
No,
they're trying to lose games.
There you go. There it is.
There
Thank you.
That was like when they go to the that was like when they go to the guy in Family Guy and he says it's going to rain. That was the Jordan analysis right there.
Yeah. DBC.
Jordan's the weatherman of the program. Other teams that I think are very likely to tank in a way that's going to make rotations really annoying. The Pistons. We are not far away from the Hornets also just being like, fuck it. I think Thursday, the Hornets, but we haven't seen a lot of talk about the Hornets. Like, why would they hold on to players like Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward at this point?
You shouldn't. If somebody wants them, you give them away for free. Like you find ways, well, not for free. The whole goal is to shed salary, but either way, don't have them anymore.
Yeah. So I think they are going to be some nonsense. The Pistons as well. Other teams though, like the Rockets aren't going to be the best team in the league, but we know who they're playing. They're not going to bench Jalen Green or Şengün or anything like that at this point. So we know what their rotations are going to be. The Lakers suck, but they still apparently seem to be trying to win. And the Magic have been competent as well as of late.
Dude, I love the Magic. They've been like the new Bojans of the old Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. I've been backing the Magic every day for like a month, it feels like. I every time they get plus money line, any team, it doesn't matter. Since that 2-game set against Boston, and you're starting to see the emergence of Markelle Fultz and Paolo Banchero, people have to start allowing rookies. And Markelle Fultz, I don't look at, he's been in the league for a while now, but like has never had the miles in the NBA. You're starting to see them understand floor spacing for the first time, starting to play actual NBA basketball, and they're just going to get better and better. So it's a fun team to watch.
We just got a couple more super chats that came in. One is
cool.
from my filler arc. He says one more, Hart and Laurie Markkinen or Draymond Green and Zach LaVine. That is Draymond and Zach LaVine for me.
Yeah, Zach LaVine I thought was going to end up on the betting card today. He did not. But yeah, for DFS purposes, definitely going to go the second one.
Mr. Cool Cam 97 top 5 FanDuel GPP plays. So the lineups that I built over on FanDuel for me, that would be Edmund Sumner, Jaden Hardy, Christian Wood, DeMar DeRozan, Tim Hardaway Jr. And I would have had Robert Williams in that mix, but that game has already started.
I see. I just reran another one on FanDuel because I haven't touched it for 20 minutes. Christian Wood, 7,900. My God, I would have an eternal amount of him on FanDuel today. Tim Hardaway Jr. I'll put both of those guys in the bucket. There's no way that they're not starting tonight. Yay, fire them up at will. Zach LaVine, another good piece of chalk. I think 7,600 for him. Edmund Sumner, now that we know he's starting, Yahtzee, enjoy that one. Another good piece of chalk. And then off the board for FanDuel, I generally, when I answer these questions and I'm not playing over there, I look at a piece that might be a little bit too expensive to some people, but I think has some kind of positive leverage going their direction. I think it's pretty clearly Josh Giddey on FanDuel. I have a ton of him, talked about him on DK. I don't think it's necessarily even like a points thing because I do not think he's going to go out and put up 25 anytime soon. But his ability to fill out a box score and on FanDuel steals blocks and everything else, dude's playing really good basketball. We just talked about OKC, 8K. He's only 7.5% owned over there. Fire that up.
I just went and looked at my notifications on Twitter. Seems to be a lot of comments about my hair. A lot of them. I pulled it up because
you might want to take the night off and log out of that one today.
Well, I'm always curious when I haven't tweeted anything recently and I have the max notification symbol up, and then I'm like, oh, it's just people. Lots of gifts. Most of them very justified, by the way.
I'm here for it.
I am as well. As for the other, we answered all the super chats. I'm going to check Discord as well. If we don't have any of these questions, then we're going to start to look over at, we do have a couple here. Şengün or Wood? I prefer Wood tonight.
I prefer Wood as well. by a lot.
Also, Şengün's been really good as of late, but consider the scenarios. Jalen Green is now back for the Rockets. And then something else that we have to think about too. Everybody is out for the Mavericks. So Christian Wood is the guy who I prefer over Şengün there. W. German saying, Greg, never go to Stevie Wonder's barbershop. Stevie Wonder could see. This guy couldn't. Trust me, this guy was Stevie Wonder sees much better than this guy.
Remember, I went to that jazz bar out here in the Valley. Stevie Wonder walks in. I send the picture to all you guys, and you're like, Stevie Wonder is reading that menu. He's absolutely reading
he was reading the menu. He was reading the menu.
I was like, oh, man.
Why would he
so
be
wild?
What does he need a menu for at a restaurant?
It's a great question.
It's like, I can't read, but I'm looking at the pictures. That guy's a fraud. Oh, we're at 14. Paul George rant incoming if Christian Wood doesn't start. Would this be a Paul rant-esque rant for you if Christian Wood doesn't start?
If Christian Wood doesn't start, I might lose money tonight.
I mean,
I'll get a ton of Warriors. I'll swap. Yeah, I'll be fine. Shut up, mean people.
So
Meanies.
If he doesn't, I mean, he hasn't played in nearly a month now.
Yeah,
something like that. So maybe there could be conditioning issues. There's not going to be an issue with his thumb.
I don't think so.
It's only a thumb.
So
that would be
Keldon Johnson available to play. Thank God I don't have to change.
We don't have to change anything for that. Keldon Johnson in for the Spurs. Are you going to roster him at all?
Maybe a little bit because he's going to be underowned. But like when I say I have a little bit, meaning that I'll have like a minute or two. Oh, Jared Vanderbilt ruled out. There we go. Kelly Olynyk. Hello. How are we?
So
feeling
the reason
good.
This isn't maybe the most surprising thing in the world is we've seen teams not play guys that were on the trade block.
Totally.
You know, it's funny, the narrative that comes out afterwards, it's either rest him so he doesn't get hurt or play him more so he could be showcased. These are things that are counterintuitive that
I know. It's annoying, but you got to use like basketball logic because we're both data driven. We work at a data driven company, but like we also love sports and watch basketball. And it's one of those things where if he gets ruled out, well, now there's still guys that need to play. And that's the whole thing about like the Spurs. There's just enough bodies where it's like, who are they trying to showcase? Like, Jakob Poeltl, by every metric on dunks and threes and any statistical website you look at, period, he's a very good basketball player, could fit on a contender very nicely. But like, what's the point of playing him 32 minutes and showing him off or whatever you're saying? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, nobody gives a shit anymore. Like, we should be past that point of it. For me, it's more of just like, I am far more likely to believe guys get ruled out from nowhere. So they go from being a part of a rotation to disappearing. So be on the lookout for that. Also, remember this. When you take overs on players, if they don't play, they get voided. So like in certain spots where it projects out well, take advantage of like the unknowns of certain things where like if you have some bench players that show up and you think starters, like I do think starters on some teams on Wednesday might not play as many minutes on a team like the Knicks or a team like the Bulls that have pieces that might be on the move, or the Knicks trying to acquire, the Bulls trying to shed, Zach LaVine to the Lakers or whatever else the discussion is. That's still not going to happen. But lots of ways that we can analyze it, but it just comes down to using logic most of the time. If they play, normal minutes for the most part, nothing crazy. And if they don't, just go ahead and fire up some overs because he's kind of a free roll.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Vanderbilt one as well. Because by the way, the tie into Vanderbilt here is that I think Vanderbilt is getting traded, right? I don't think Vanderbilt is going to be with the Jazz.
No,
trade
why would he be?
And the main reason is because of the emergence of Walker Kessler and how good that he has been. So let's look at the Utah scenario because who should we be getting to more now that Vanderbilt has been ruled out tonight? I think
Kessler looks better, 5,400. Malik Beasley looks better, 4,400 for Malik Beasley. I think there's just more minutes that can exist when you take 18, 20 off for Vanderbilt here. He's been playing kind of routinely that kind of minutes allotment in most games. But Kelly Olynyk was a piece that we talked about already. You should just be playing more of him now. 4,100 for him. It's a really good spot to get to him.
Yeah, so it shores up the minutes for Kelly Olynyk, barring foul trouble. Anybody else though? Really, are there any?
I think Malik Beasley gets a couple more minutes. I mean, you could slide Olynyk over and play some 5 if need be. There's really nobody else coming off the bench. I don't think Azubuike just miraculously shows up in this rotation. So I think when Kessler's off the floor, you probably shift Markkanen Markkanen, maybe not. More Kelly Olynyk. I think you could see him play some 5, and then everybody kind of slots over one spot. Malik Beasley is a guy that I just added some more minutes to. I put him from 22.5 to 26.5. I took Kessler. I went from 26 to 28.5. I'm going to take a little bit more for Sexton and Agbaji. That doesn't do anything to change their profiles for me, but going to get to some Malik Beasley now.
I think Agbaji goes from somebody who I had 0% of to like a deep tournament flyer.
Okay. I mean, he was projected for 15 minutes here at Stokastic. I think if you think he gets the lion's share of it, that feels a little bit unlikely to me.
Not saying he gets the lion's share of the
but he sees the biggest increase of anybody,
yes,
is what you're saying. That's what I'm getting at.
He played 24 minutes last game.
Yeah.
Now he's shit as far as points per minute fantasy producer goes, but he played 24 minutes last game, and that was with Vanderbilt playing 18.
Jordan Klein, don't say Sam Hauser is playing good. Don't do that. Oh God, 2 for 2 from 3 and 3 rebounds. You got to be joking me.
We got a $2 super chat from Jordan Klein, 16-month member.
I don't know who that is. I will say this.
Let me find that one.
I feel like I should have channeled based on what I look like right now. I really should have played more white guys from the Boston Celtics. It feels like a missed opportunity for me. I should have played Peyton Pritchard.
You could have just played the one guy with the last name White. He's doing all right. 2, 3, and 1. Turn your head to the right, Greg, I believe is what Jordan Klein paid money to get. Look at that. I don't think it's that bad. That angle isn't so bad.
No, that's the good side. Turn it the other way, if you don't mind.
I don't know if we need to.
Go do it. Do it.
No, I'm not Namby Turner. I'm not Namby Turner. What do you want me to say?
I can't turn left.
Yeah, I can't turn. I'm not Namby Turner. I have to work on my blue steel. What do you think this is? Think I just turn both directions like that? It's not that easy to do, Jordan Klein. I'm going to be getting to a little bit more of Kelly Olynyk with this news. And yeah, I like we said, I liked Olynyk before. I like him just slightly more now, though.
Why would Sam Hauser have 6 and 3 and Jason Tatum just has 1 assist? What world are we in right now? What in the world?
Hey, we had we told Lippy in chat that he should not play 100% of Sam Hauser. Did we make a mistake? Should he have played 120% of Sam Hauser?
Here's my question. This is actually a really good exercise. This is kind of the Neil Orfield thing. We are 19 minutes into this slate.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to play 0% Sam Hauser or 100% Sam Hauser, knowing that he started with 6 points and 3 rebounds, would you take 100 or 0 right now?
100.
I think I would take 100 too.
Yeah, I would be
flat
100%.
3K. I think I would too.
100% Sam Hauser right now. I would want to be like Lippy, the sharpest of all of us. Don't we feel like wild? Don't we feel like goofs for telling him not to play 100% Sam Hauser?
Yeah, no, we definitely deserve whatever happened to your head. We deserve that, and
nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves pain and suffering. That would be immoral. Let's bring up BetPro. Jordan, pull that up on the screen. We are going to tell people the best ways that they could find bets over at No House Advantage, which now have props you can play against the house. So if you guys haven't signed up at No House Advantage, in addition to all the overlay they have in their DFS contests, they also have props against the house. So if you're in a state that does not have legal sports betting, you could still play props against the house over on No House Advantage. Our link when you sign up, you are going to get up to a $100 bonus over at NHA, but also NBA BetPro, our new prop betting tool for basically anything. We've got it for Prize Picks, NHA, BetMGM, Draft, any sportsbook you could think of. We've got it covered on NBA BetPro, and you get 1 week free when you sign up using the link below over at NBA BetPro for the first time. Let's pull this up here. Is there anything, if you have it in front of you, that stands out about the projections over at NHA? Any props against the house that you're like, that's one that I want to have some money on?
Let me pull this up as I'm going to, again, versus the house, which again, 5 out of 5 pays 21x over there. Just throwing it out there for everybody else that likes playing other places. 21x for 5 out of 5. That's
not bad.
That's the best return you're finding in the industry, pretty much bar none. As you're looking at No House Advantage today, Damian Lillard has the highest projection in terms of his expected win percentage. All we worry about is the win over here, under 4.5 threes. It's a pretty hefty number. I mean, if he shoots 10 threes, which again, pretty likely outcome, you'd have to go 50% to beat you in that regard. So I think that's a really good number just looking at it from the get-go here. De'Aaron Fox, under 1.5. I don't think he has any issue with minutes here. He's missed the last two. It was a personal issue. Comes back. I think he's going to jump into his normal spot, but we've got him projected under 59% expected win percentage. Don't mind that. Now, Lauri Markkanen, we had him for the under of 9.5 rebounds. Now, is Walker Kessler playing more good or bad? Vanderbilt generally has a gigantic rebound rate. Let me pull this up as we're talking through it too, and I'm updating some of my Utah stuff because I want to get a little bit more concrete with that. I know that game comes up later, so I'm not like rushing. I already have a ton of Brooklyn exposure. That's not going to change. So I'm going to rerun some of my lineups with some updated Utah stuff. But 20 minutes of Jared Vanderbilt not being on the floor, probably a good thing for the rebound rate. I'd probably be gearing away from the Lauri Markkanen one, the under that's standing out there at the moment. But the under on Damian Lillard for sure makes a lot of sense.
Some updated numbers from the Celtics game still at 6-3 for Sam Hauser. Derek White, though, 5 points, a rebound, 3 assists. So he's off to a good start. The only guy kind of sucking for the Celtics right now is Jason Tatum for
Unreal.
Detroit. Everybody kind of
0 for 4. 0 for 4 from the field. 0 for 4.
Everybody kind of sucks for
All
that.
I know is I'm glad I talked myself out of Bojan today. That could have been a dangerous tango. I fought. I pushed and pulled with myself. Did not end up betting it.
I'm sure you did push and pull yourself. Cleveland
Yeah,
Cavaliers,
like
Washington Wizards. Cavs are up 21-11 early. Darius Garland, 6 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist.
I will never understand that line as long as I live. I will never understand it. 1. Move to 1. What are we doing?
Which line?
The line.
Cleveland.
It dropped to 1. And I think it assumed that Beal went through a shoot around and he was going to play, and then he sat. I didn't see what the closing line ended up being, but it ended up being 4 at close. So yeah, the Beal expected to be there, moved it a lot. And then even still though, last night when I bet it 2.5, 3, that's kind of where we're sitting at the whole time. That didn't even make sense to me.
You know who's crushing to start the game? Monty Morris, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists for Monty Morris. And then Denny Avdia and 6.
He already got subbed in for though. You saw that, right?
We've got Kendrick Nunn right now.
Yeah.
Denny
don't
Avdia
want none unless you got buns, hun.
Exactly. We'll see. How much? I have around 10% Nunn.
I got like 4. I didn't get to like any.
I wish I would have played more Monty Morris though.
Yeah.
Denny Avdia,
Iowa State,
an assist. I'm cool with that. NBA Bet Pro, pulling this up, looking at our NHA props here. This is a big number for Damian Lillard. His over/under for threes is 4.5. De'Aaron Fox 1.5. I'm just looking at the numbers. The only thing that really looks good to me at first glance is that under 4.5 threes for Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I love it.
Anything else make sense to you? I mean, how many?
That's the main one. I don't see a whole lot else that I'm in love with. I said I was going through before we got distracted there for a second, looking at other stuff. Utah. I was looking at the rebounding rate that you take off the floor for. Because Walker Kessler is at a 19.4% rebound rate, but he'd been playing some minutes alongside Jared Vanderbilt. So like not having him out there, a dude in Jared Vanderbilt who has an 18% total rebounding rate this season. I think that boosts the profile of Lauri Markkanen and family there a little bit. So would probably be less inclined to take some of those unders that we're projecting out well for us now.
No, I think that makes sense. By the way, Damian Lillard this year, I know he's been on an absolute tear as of late, but for the season, he is averaging 4 threes per game. Just 4.5 is a crazy, crazy high number. Even in the last week where Dame has a 32% usage rate and is averaging 37 points per game, he's averaging 4.3 threes.
Yep. I said, made all the sense in all the land.
We're on the same page with that. We just got a super chat from Shane Daly. Kessler, low, min, last man in, discuss, coffee talk.
Sure. I was not even here, didn't do anything over the weekend. I was at a wedding, so I was catching up on everything. Didn't really have any kind of issues. I mean, you got to keep into account sometimes. Are we talking the February 3rd, the Atlanta game, or are we talking about, let's see, did they play on Saturday? No, they did not play on Saturday. So we'll pull up that Atlanta game. You would think
foul trouble.
Let's pull it up here. Let me go to game flow here.
So a couple of things also. That game, they needed to get shooting on the court. They were down a lot very early.
Oh, yeah. They had Agbaji play the entire second quarter. I'm going to call that an outlier. And then Kessler, because it would make sense to have Kessler on the floor. He basically just played opposite of Capella, and then they did not bring him back when Capella came back on the floor at the 4:42 mark. But it looks like they checked out, the 4:15 mark there, and then Kessler at the 4:15 mark. Yeah, so they basically had him shadowing Capella. And when Capella was off the floor, they went to Okongwu, and they just basically went small and brought shooting out. Just had, who played the 5 there? Yeah, Vanderbilt played the 5 there all the way until the 9:04 mark, and then they were beat up. That was not good. They ended up bringing NAW out on the floor for 5 minutes. Not likely today.
Yeah, it's going to be different rotations. But then the biggest thing from last game also was just they were behind and they needed to get a bunch of shooting on the court. They're not going to be behind today. I mean, I guess they could be. Anything is possible. But everybody's out for Dallas. Utah's a 9-point favorite. I would not expect a similar game script where we just have Walker Kessler has to come off the court to get all the 3-point shooting. Not going to happen again.
All the 3-point shooting in all of the land.
I'm getting to a bunch of Kelly Olynyk now, by the way.
I have an eternal amount.
Eternal. That was a terrible movie, The Eternals.
I never saw it. Oh, I did see The Eternals, the Marvel one. Yeah, that was not great. And Gemma Chan is like my chick. I love her. She is my hall pass all day, every day. My God. Her, Crazy Rich Asians, fire. Fire, fire, fire. Nuke, nuke, nuke.
I can't. Anybody who is in that movie, I don't want anything to do with anymore.
Gemma Chan, all day, every day, fire it up. She is 13K on DraftKings on this slate.
Okay. I'm happy you said K afterwards. I thought that we were stopping at an inopportune time in the sentence. Boston Celtics, Detroit Pistons. You kind of hesitated. You said she is 13, and then you said K. I was like, and then
I said it flowing. What are you talking? Get your head out of the gutter, scissor boy. Stop it.
That is what you said. By the way, Jason Tatum, 2 rebounds and 2 assists now. He's got it going.
Oh my God, please just punch me in the face. So I already lost money on this slate. Peyton Pritchard out there knocking down threes instead of our guy. So there you go. Checks in, hits a 3 instantly. Good job. Go you.
Pritchard, who scores more fantasy points tonight? Peyton Pritchard or Jason Tatum?
Please, for the love of God, don't make that joke. He's 0 for 5, 0 for 1 from field. What is going on? This game has got to be the most atrocious thing to watch ever. 19-15, 2:27 left. No, thank you. But Cleveland, thank you for existing. 30-17. Let's go.
Yeah, big lead for the Cleveland Cavaliers, up 30-17. Evan Mobley is 8 points and a steal. Donovan Mitchell, 9 points and a rebound. The big fantasy outcome. Darius Garland now 6 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. And he's done that in only 6 minutes.
Unreal.
Denny Avdia, not bad start, 5 points and an assist. And then Monty Morris, I mentioned before, he's been pretty good, but everybody else kind of dog shit.
Tatum made a layup.
Hey, look at that. He's on the board. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric and I are going to be back here the same time tomorrow. We'll see you then. Good luck tonight.